Hello, and welcome to the March 13th Select Board meeting. The board is present minus Tom. We have the town manager, the town clerk, members of the public. Let us stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First, we have the approval of our meeting minutes from February 20th.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Terrific. First, public comment. Yes, please. Step right up here. Name and address.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Manning, and I live at 38 Logan Street, my husband and I and family. My husband and I purchased 40 Logan Street, the house next door, 5 years ago, and now we're trying to sell it. We have a young couple that wants to move in. They're expecting their second, and we're running into a title issue. And apparently common sense doesn't work in a court of law. So I wanted to see what the town of Berwick might be able to do to help reconcile this situation. I know the contention is Penny Pond Project donated the land, the two right-of-ways that are on my property, next to my property. But it shows in the original plan of Penny Pond Project that they are designated as right-of-ways. Now, we've been using it for over 30 years. Some neighbors even paved it. Nobody's ever said that we couldn't use it. And I am paying taxes on both lots. So I know the town cannot landlock people. So I'm hoping they can come to a simple solution. I did the historic deed search all the way back to 1899 when my property was built. And it seems that right-of-way was there way back when. We were told by the realtor that the right-of-way was so Mrs. Ireland can reach her property. She owned a very large lot. She's the heiress to the Lords. They owned a lot of Berwick. So now here it is. I have a couple that on March 1st were supposed to close to buy this house we're trying to sell. And it wasn't until this afternoon that the town lawyer was able to speak with my lawyer who's handling the closing, and they want me to go to the Maine Department of DOT. My contention is we've been here a lot longer than the Penny Pond Project. There's paperwork that documents it's a right-of-way. I don't feel I need to have my lawyer on retainer to call the DOT, because I wouldn't even know where to start. So I'm hoping the Board of Selectmen might be able to do something, a suggestion. The town manager has been working with me and the realtor, but the title company has basically begged out and laid it all onto me. So now I've lost 5 months of rent to pay the mortgage, and I'm kind of pushing now in hopes that you folks can make it so we can keep driving on this right-of-way that we've been using for 3 decades. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right. Close public comment. We have no public hearings or approvals, no committee reports, no department reports. Appointments. Daniel Hook wishes to be appointed to a Division Berwick for a 2-year term. Is Daniel here?
I can speak on behalf of Dan, if that's
Please.
appropriate. Known Dan for the past several months, since he first attempted to be appointed to planning board and the seats were filled. he reached out for Envision Berwick, and he's attended comprehensive plan meetings, community garden meetings, Envision Berwick. He's just another person that has a lot of energy and some good ideas. So I think it'd be a great addition to the group.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about Daniel Hook?
No, is Jeremy around?
I was going to say Jeremy's in there. Jeremy, anything you want to add? He's probably listening. Yep, here he goes.
There he comes.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry.
Do you want to? Daniel Hook?
wants to be appointed.
Oh, yes, but I don't see him here.
No. Would you do? Is that a good appointment? Do you think?
Oh, my goodness. Is it ever?
Okay, perfect.
Yes, Daniel Hook has been coming to meetings for about a year now. He's been involved. He was very involved with the event we put on at Corner Point for the relaunch of the Berwick Historical Society. His wife actually came and took pictures for us. He's got a young family. He's also really been civic-minded outside of just Envision Berwick with the Sustainability Committee and been a vocal advocate for the notion of opening Berwick up for more bike routes and bike lanes so that we can bring more tourism that way. He's just a great guy and loves the town.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to appoint Daniel Hook to a 2-year term on New Vision Berwick.
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? You made it on. We have no unfinished business. Town manager's report.
The MSAD 60 students through the Access program will be visiting Town Hall in a couple weeks. Students will be learning a little bit about what goes on around Town Hall. Libby Scott has offered a contract extension for our paving contract for the year. And with their extension, they only increased on materials that have increased for them. So my recommendation for consideration would be to extend the contract similar to what we did last year. And the main reason is we no longer seem to have local competition in the area. I've reached out to paving companies and there's a lack of response, and it just seems like Libby Scott is the only one that's coming that's close on price.
And eager to do the work.
Eager to do the work and just extend the contract again, just like last year, just give us a head start on scheduling and things like that.
Would you like to just like us do that right now?
That'd be great.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about that idea?
No, I think we put it back out to bid, like James said, a couple times the last few years, and nothing's
We
come
either
back
get nothing
or
and
nothing.
just Libby Scott, or we get Libby Scott and somebody who's dramatically overpriced.
Yep, not close
Right.
and definitely put
Yeah.
up there. So, no.
I'll make a motion that we extend our paving contract with Libby Scott for another year.
I'll second that.
Second,
Any further discussion?
third, or fourth.
All those in favor?
Update on the Mullen Street project. We had some neighbors reach out with concerns. We had some folks at Planning Board. And I believe this week we've been able to alleviate at least some of the most serious concerns that they've had. Some of the details on the project for the Mullen Street. The travel lanes on Mullen Street are 9 feet, which are very narrow than typical, but it's an older historic street. To go along with it, we have 5-foot paved swales. And there is some contention about why we are extending with 5-foot swales. The main purpose is if you go any narrower with a paved swale, because it dips down, you have more of an abrupt dip that becomes a tripping hazard, where a 5-foot swale really acts more as a sidewalk. So it serves a purpose to maintain the integrity of the road and prevents erosion. And just clearing up some other things on the project, we're raising the center line 5 inches, so raising the center of Mullen Street to help the water come down. But by the time the road gets to the driveways, it ties into the existing grade. So there are some concerns about potentially flooding people's basements. I believe we were able to, meet that concern to show that the driveway will be draining down into the drainage swale. So the whole purpose of doing the Bowman Street project is to prevent erosion and just improve the stormwater system out there. So most of the storm drains are in. They've been, all the old storm drains have been replaced with new storm drains. The first coat of pavement is due by the end of, or is expected by end of May, beginning of June. We'll start seeing work on the filter pond. They're working on the filter pond, and into the spring and summer there'll be some landscaping. So by the end of May and June, that will be in pretty good shape. And then the project will be final paved in August. So expected that project to be completely done by August.
Now this is the MSAD. What is the project called?
The MS4.
MS4. There we go. This is the project we've been talking about for like 5 years now, right?
Yep.
Okay. So and it's all good with the state. Everything's happy with all that stuff.
Yep. This was reviewed by our stormwater engineer. It was designed to meet the deficiencies of our stormwater system.
Terrific. Anything else?
Got 3 more. Paving of the courts at Memorial Field is scheduled for May. Hopefully beginning of May, mid-May. Several properties went to tax foreclosure. There's 2 property owners in total. 6 properties. So the one property owner had 5 properties go to tax foreclosure. They have 60 days from notice to pay the entire back taxes, where we follow our policy, which we end up having to sell the property. And now the way the law is, we have to, all
You
those
pay-
proceeds goes to
Yeah,
the,
you pay the taxes, and then whatever's left over goes back to the original owner.
Yep.
Got
Yep. And last thing, I just want to recognize Shannon and Josh for their work with the Sweetheart Dance. I think Shannon, again, did an incredible job. Just all the little, I know she was running a photo booth and just making the night special and providing keepsake for folks. So, great job. And that completes my report.
Any questions for the town manager? Thank you much.
James.
All right. Select Board Communications. Nothing terribly exciting. Comcast is changing the name of some stations. And in terms of the board, there's an election for the York County Budget Committee, which only elected officials can go to and vote on. So, a lot of exciting fun there. Approval of accounts payable and payroll warrants. Payroll warrant number 60 from February 29th in the amount of $81,960.31. Accounts payable warrant number 61 from February 29th in the amount of $153,123.17. Accounts payable warrant number 62 from February 29th in the amount of $67,919.99. Payroll warrant number 63 from March 7th in the amount of $84,950.28. Payroll warrant number 64 from March 7th in the amount of $295.82. Payroll warrant number 65 from March 14th in the amount of $81,974.38. Accounts payable warrant number 66 from March 12th in the amount of $1,156,639.37. Accounts payable warrant number 67 from March 12th in the amount of $23,880.36. I make a motion that we pay our bills.
Second.
Any further discussion?
What was the one for like $295?
I think that was just a missed paycheck.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I was-
Any further discussion? All those in favor? You're funny. You asked about the small one. I asked about the big one.
See the big one, I'm like,
All right. New business. March 5th, state and presidential primary election results.
Yeah, we've had a total of 1,147 voters, which is a pretty good turnout for a primary. I was surprised by the number, but would like it to be higher, of course, so thank you to all who voted. Obviously, Biden and Trump took their party. So we're on to June 11th, next election, 8 to 8. It's a state primary, town budget, town meeting election, and MSAD budget validation. So please come out.
That's the important one.
That's the important one for local people.
And changes to the land use ordinance, too.
Yes. Yep. And electing 2 members of select board and 1 for
School board.
the school
school
board.
board.
Yep. Terrific. That was June 11th, right? June 11th. Nobody tell me that we didn't tell you. June 11th.
Yeah.
All right. On-premise liquor license for Untrucked. Is there a representative from Untrucked here who wants to speak about this?
You have come to the podium.
Okay, sorry. I just came from there because I had somebody call out. I apologize. I'm a little late. Is there any questions that you would prefer to ask me, or did you just want me to speak about kind of what we were looking to do?
Tell us what you're looking to do.
So we're just looking to get a beer and wine license. Nothing fancy. We're not looking to be late night. Just beer, wine, and some RTDs. RTDs, of course, under 8% when you have a beer and wine license. So no pours, just cans. Just Coronas to go with your tacos. That's basically it. It's just something that we've gotten a lot of feedback from the community. They've been very interested. I can't really go a day without somebody asking if we have some form of alcohol, so we just want to give them what they're asking for within reason.
No, I understand that. My brother ran a pizza restaurant, and it was just like, everybody wanted to have beer and wine too. And it's just like, it's just a pizza place. And they're just like, no. But,
Yep.
So they ended up having to do that too.
Yep.
So I understand. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
Everything looks filled out by the state.
Yep. It's all pretty well filled out and all pretty good.
I'll make a motion to approve the on-premise liquor license for Untrucked. I believe it's effective 3/18 this year to 3/18 next year.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Think you're all set. Thank you. All right. Quick claim deeds, abatements, none. Second public comment. Okay. All right. So tonight's going to be a little interesting. We have an executive session, which we're going to do after we do our parking workshop and our final budget workshop, hopefully. And so essentially we're going to go into recess for those 2 items, go into the executive session, come back out. There'll be no decisions made in executive session or the workshops, so there'll be no voting. So we're going to be out of the video for that part. Does anybody have any other business non-agenda items to bring up? I am also bereft of anything, so I think we are all set to enter our workshops. So I think we're in recess. All right.
Up there is the
And
match.
there's 8 of you here. There's
Up there,
obviously
the
8 seats.
has the food.
We're just here today just as a
No, I'm serious.
the downtown has developed leaps and bounds since I think a lot of us have gotten together in the same room. So it's just a good opportunity to get together and just talk about what we see for opportunities, challenges, and just try to be together and communicate and just be on the same page as the downtown continues to develop. So first thing on the agenda is just a simple introduction, and I don't know if you want to start. I'll start. And I'm James. I'm the town manager, and I'm happy to be here.
We're the select board.
And we're all happy to be
We
here.
all have the name.
All is one.
Please, Allison.
Hi, I'm Allie. I own the Bad Wolf Butcher right there on 12 Sullivan Street.
My name is Alyssa. I'm the co-owner of Untrucked.
I'm Jamie. I own Corner Point Brewing.
I'm Kat. I own 6 Sullivan, which houses Untrucked, Truth Custom Tattoo, and Rooted in Flow Yoga.
I'm Dennis Dupree, I own Devin DuPont Grounds.
I'm Becky Holt. I am the property manager at JCS Property Management over at the Village.
I'm John Smith with Great Falls Construction and JCS.
Terrific.
guys.
Thanks
Nice
for being
to
here.
meet you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all
I'm
for being
glad
here.
that everybody showed up. You know, I mean, this is the majority of the people here.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah. Apparently, it's a topic of a lot of interest. So,
Sure.
I think the real number one challenge that we're facing is limited parking opportunities in the downtown right now, as it currently sits. We have a lot of interest in the businesses downtown, which is great. Corner Point is always stacked, especially on weekends and nights, things like that. You have the town hall right there, so during the day you have a lot of town hall people coming and going, parking. Bad Wolf, Domino's, and people coming and going for that. Also, delivery drivers coming and going. And when there's an event downtown, like the music festival, what's that called? I can't remember that.
Lawn chairs.
Lawn chairs, yeah.
Yes, thank you. You know, when there's the lawn chairs, or something like the parades, things like that, there's always a scarcity of parking opportunities, and it gets pretty hectic down there. And we know that when the edge is completed, it's supposed to have, 200 more spaces of parking? Is that what it's supposed to be?
It'll be, I think the count officially is close to 300. And does that include the lot?
It does not. So it's about 300, and then another 75 to 100 on the lot right on the corner of Sullivan and Wilson Street.
So that parking lot, is that going to be redone or like repaved or something?
Yeah, that's slated to actually be, DOT is, we're working with the DOT and have an arrangement with them. They're going to be, part of that is going to be park and ride, officially a park and ride lot.
Yeah.
And then the other part is just going to be open parking
Okay.
to support.
And obviously, you guys are going to have apartments, people, living in units, so that's going to account for a good portion of that parking space and stuff like that. And the other challenge is obviously handicap parking as well. There's very limited handicap parking in the downtown area. There's, 2 spaces total?
I think 3.
Yep. So, does anybody else want to talk about any other challenges that we're facing right now that I didn't just enumerate?
I would just say with the growing commercial units, that means more like commercial deliveries. So we're seeing a lot more 18-wheelers and stuff staying on our main road here. Like, and we're guilty of it too. We have 18-wheelers come in. So I think one of the solutions is like, well, and we're not talking
solutions or problems, but whatever.
Okay. We try to get all of our delivery trucks to go down the alley next to us. I think keeping delivery trucks off Sullivan Street is something we should talk about.
Okay.
And off Sullivan Square in general.
Yeah.
They park for a while, so.
Oh yeah,
it takes
absolutely.
up a lot of space, yeah.
And you're 100% right about that. They take a lot of space and they can take a lot of time. They pay by the hour. So
yeah. There was a 2.5-hour long delivery today in Sullivan Square. Yeah.
That's
taking out like 6 spots downtown.
Yeah.
So.
And and that's just you, but also I think Domino's gets stuff delivered daily. I think is what.
Yeah, it was Domino's. It wasn't us.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
No, but I'm sorry.
Not to like.
No,
But that's
no, but
Yeah.
I think I do believe that one of Domino's things is that they have fresh dough every day, which means they truck it in every day.
Right.
Same thing with Dunkin' Donuts. Every morning, Dunkin' Donuts 18-wheelers and box trucks are all over the place because they deliver fresh donuts every morning. So, yeah, that's a very good point as well. Any other challenges that we might not be aware of?
We own Devin Dukes. I've been in business for 33 years and 27 at that spot right there. I've seen a lot of things come and go. Debbie and I, over the years, put a few dollars into downtown to renovate some things. So we've had functions at the restaurant. We'd have 80 people upstairs, 55 on the second floor, the hair salon, tanning, everything like that. So we could bring in a few 150 cars at any given night, which we did. It all seemed to work because basically we took the time to tell people, if you're going to have a function, I work with Reverend Al across the street, which used to be at the Corner Point, where Jamie is. And, we were able to use the back out back. He wasn't there. Talked to Kennybunk Bank, the old church. So we all worked together. For this to work, we all have to educate each other and work together. Mm-hmm. Because Absolutely. If you look at it, when they do studies, and I own Subway, and that place is all parked, and it's there, people, for 2.5, 3 hours, 4 hours, and I'm driving through town, and I look at it, and it's the last spot for me to grab something to go home, and I say, oh, frig that. I'm not going in there. Can you imagine the thousands and thousands of dollars that a sandwich place will own, any business, whether it's picking up steaks, I want to go to Jamie's, geez, I can't get in there tonight, I'm going home and have a beer and a sandwich. If we don't work together and educate each other on how this can work incrementally in different spots, but it all comes down to the staff. My staff this winter got lazy, and a couple of them were parking there, and I said, go, they're back up there. Mm-hmm. You can't park there. I can't come down and park in front of Devin Dukes for an hour and a half because Subway could lose 5 stops at $12 a piece, and at the end of the year they just lost $4,000 or $5,000, and that's his tax bill. That's how crucial this is. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I'd like to touch base with is, and I have a question for John. Are you looking to keep that parking lot a parking lot for the next 1,000 years?
Which one? The one?
The big one, the 120 spots.
So
with the parking ride and everything else that might overflow. Is that your plan?
Right now, that's our plan. I mean, it's obviously a nice piece of land, but we really feel like as the edge sort of gets developed, it needs that as a support lot, and then as it develops and sort of the area matures a little bit, the edge matures a little bit, and makes sense. We would then know if kind of where we stand. we'll know whether that works as a surface lawn and is necessary, whether it needs to be 4 stories of parking there because there's just not enough, or whether it can be a developable site, you know. But for right now, I can't commit to 1,000 years, but I can tell you, for right now, that's
Because
our
actually what
plan.
we're working on, John, and you know, and we hope that it's awesome, is this is a do-over. The canvas is blank. He's painting it. The whole group's painting it. You're all supporting that canvas. My question is, Dover, after 100 years, got a parking garage. Whitworth Douglas, after being there for 85 years, got a parking garage. With grants available, why can't we get on the phone and say to King, Angus, come down here, bring Sue with you, bring Shelley Pingree and Jerry Golden, get them all down here. We're looking at $4 million to go up another level. But don't wait 75 years. Because all of a sudden somebody buys the metal building and turns it into a 150-seat restaurant across the street. They're parking in my front yard and they're down the ball diamonds. So here's an opportunity where, in my opinion, after 27 years of saying we have to educate each other, I can't be parked in front of Devin Dukes. And to be honest, Ben can't be parked in front of his business if somebody's going into Subway or somebody's coming to Devin Dukes or somebody wants to go to Untrucked. We're all doing you an injustice by parking here. So it's like going in and having a form and breaking it all down as we come to whatever things that we come to, whether it's 15 minutes out front, an hour and a half across the street. I mean, I used to own all that stuff, and I worked hard to make it work. Once in a while, one person would say, "Oh, I had to park over here with the employees park for the town. Would you go to Portsmouth?" "Yeah." "Oh, where you park?" "In the parking garage. It's awesome." "Oh, really? You park over there in the parking garage, walk 1.5 miles to that restaurant down on State Street, but you won't park over here and walk 60 seconds. Those people, you know, it's like, that's how you get around that. And then they go, "Oh, sorry." We don't want anybody to lose any business. And if you got the people going upstairs what is that? I'm not good at that. Is that aerobics or
Yoga?
Yoga. And on a Sunday morning, and across the street is wide open. Then walk across the street, put your 12 cars there instead of having 12 cars there. We're not there, so it doesn't bother me. And Spencer Matthews is not there. But I'm looking at Subway and Untrucked. So again, it's that mentality. Oh, I'm driving through downtown Dover, and I came all the way to downtown Dover because I want to go to Harvey's Bakery. I got to go park in the parking garage, but I have a place to go. But it's not in front of the building. But I've said that's my goal, and I will go park in the parking garage because that's my goal. The people that decide not to do this, whatever businesses we put in, they're going to say, over time, they're just going to drive by. That's why you have takeouts. That's why you have drive-ins. That's why Dunkin' Donuts did what it did 35 years ago. Villa Pizza, they're not going to survive. Summersworth House, Tom, he said, "Denny, I ain't going to make it." 35 years ago, I've been doing this stuff for that long. He says, I don't care how many cars I get, 20, I won't make it. People aren't going to stop here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when they're coming over that bridge. But I could bring it to their front door. That's what I have to say on this stuff, is really educating and saying we really have to care about each other. Mm-hmm. And if it means just walking back up here where all employees park up here, I don't care if the downtown is wide open and there's nobody there. But when it comes time for somebody to drive through and go to Jamie's or go to Untrucked to go, pick up all the meats for the week at the butcher shop, stop in and get your teeth cleaned, whatever it might be, Domino's, it's there. Mm-hmm. This is my thought on this, and I'm going to end it with this. Think about this for a minute. Think about going to Dover, going to Durham. We actually went to Gorham to see that place, beautiful. And you drive through these towns, downtown Dover, Rochester, putting up massive, 400 apartments right there with no parking. 400. 2 massive buildings. We need to get ahead of it. We need to find out if John's going to have that parking ride and everything like that, and Cindy and Julie are going to have that whole thing all set up, and you're going to make some money on it, and we got a second layer up there. And if the infrastructure that's going all around the square, electricity, is going to go underground, and if it's going to go underground on Wilson Street, then let's get some extra money from the folks up in Augusta, and put a bridge across the street instead of having 6,000 people cross over, ding, hit the green light, ding, hit the green light. Because where we're headed is every day that you see voting day and you've got 6,000 people coming voting day, that day is coming where it's going to be every day. That's a good thing. That's going to be every day. That's coming. 2035, it's going to be like downtown Dover. You better have a plan when you're going there. I'm going to Jewelry Creations, Harvey's, the bank, or wherever I'm going. I have a plan. I go, I get my things, and I get out. That's all I have to say. That's enough.
So what about the possibility of building a parking garage? You like that idea?
I don't. I mean, we've batted it around. I mean, I don't really envision how we could do it as a private company and make it work. I don't really know how that works, but I think that, I mean, I've got lots of things to say on parking in general because we have this, we have this discussion quite a bit, and I think, like we're huge advocates for shared parking, which is really basically what we're talking about. So the idea of designating parking for this business or that business, or even this tenant or that tenant, we don't buy into that at all because that's just too much asphalt if you compartmentalize it like that. So shared parking, we're strong advocates for, but it does come with these particular challenges that like Dennis just alluded to, and I think one of the big things I've always said when it comes to the parking challenge, like, and when we do a development, I said it when we went for approval on this one, like, we want kind of a healthy amount of challenge when it comes to parking, because if there's never a parking problem, we've got too much asphalt on the ground, right? If there's always a parking problem, we've got too much building on the ground. So trying to find that sweet spot is really, really important. One of the things we liked about this development is that lot that you're just talking about, because it kind of acts as a buffer, even though it's not far right now, although it feels like it's on the other side of town, but as we build closer to it and sort of connect to it, it's going to feel closer. So it's going to really be a good buffer. It's a great spot. Some of the things that Dennis was talking about, and we really like to talk about with our tenants a lot, is just the things you have control over are where do your employees park, and it is that's something to pay close attention to, because every spot that's taken up is a spot that's taken up. So that lot there can certainly be ideal for employee parking, for someone to park there for an extended period of time. Obviously, there are challenges to that. If you've got a, later in the evening situations, one or two employees, then, at some point they need to bring the vehicle closer to the establishment just for safety reasons and things like that. But I think the answer is in really trying to understand what you can control, and I think that's, I'm speaking to the employee, like your employee parking situations there. But also the other thing I always say, like, it's really up to the business to make sure that they put out an offering that people will come to. They'll find a way to come to it. And we've got lots of examples. And I think we've got, so far the people that are doing business over at the Edge, they do that. They've got offerings that people will come to. But, it's a challenge. I mean, anything new and a change, people have to get used to it. So I think that's... The other thing, though, that businesses do have control over is when and how their deliveries come. They really can dictate that a little bit, not explicitly, but they can dictate it a little bit as far as how they approach their business, and sometimes maybe when they approach it. So I think thinking about all that, and I think the other point that Dennis brought up, I don't know quite how he said it, but working together as businesses is certainly a whole lot better than not, and I think that's a key component to how to move as much sort of longer term parking away to make room for customers as possible.
So just for sake of clarity, the lot on Wilson Street, can people use that now? I'm driving home and I want to stop at Bad Wolf, and there's no parking there. There's no parking at the town hall, and I just drive up there and I can park there and there's no problem at all with
Right,
that?
right, yeah. It's a private parking lot, but it's basically utilized as a public lot. It's utilized sort of unofficially as park and ride now, right? But it's actually, I mean, I think we've signed the documents with the DOT. Matter of fact, I think we signed them, I can't remember because it was so long ago. They were gonna do it last year. I do think it's slated to get redone. I don't know, James, if you know any more than I do about
It'll be
it, but
this year.
it's slated to happen, yeah, and that's gonna
It was
put
like last fall, but
right,
this,
that's gonna clean it up and put a fresh coat of asphalt on it and new lines, and then we'll be doing a little bit of landscaping there, and then from there, maintaining the landscaping and all that. So it will sort of perk that area up a little bit. And essentially half of that lot will be for official park and ride, by the DOT park and ride standards. That's the agreement that we have. So that's parking. I don't know what the deal is really. Do you have to park and ride or can you park and walk? But then the rest of the lot is going to be available for parking. And again, we subscribe to the shared parking model. If it becomes a problem and, for some reason it's jammed up, I don't know, with people camping in there or something, whatever, then that's a problem, but it will be available.
I think another piece of that too is education to the public.
That's
well,
what about, the lot that's attached to Moi and Primal Fit, what's the plan for paving that? Because that would alleviate, I think, a lot of our building to have that more clearly labeled to be parking, because still people think that's construction zone. And I think it would help a lot, and that has the most parking spots for our,
Which one is that, Ally? The one that...
The one that where like the job trailer is at, where
Is that on
eventually
this plan right here?
I
That
have
may be an area
it's
too
the
we
one
could-
where 2 and
we could
4
look
Main
for
Street.
Supply trucks.
Oh, yeah,
There
there
and not
and,
on the street.
right. And
Right
we do
now there
in the
is,
alley
but-
next to us, which is my second question for you guys. I want to get to the bottom of this alley next to us.
Where
Right.
Here.
Maybe, right.
Oh,
right
yeah.
here.
But there's and the other thing, the
That's
number
right.
of parking spots, I think, to Dennis's point, is people know where they're going, and so they go and do their business and they get out, but they need to, I think we, as a town, can do a better job just putting some signage up too, or even in the businesses about
even temporary.
where parking spots are available while construction's going on. Because to your point, we did have people, we had an event at Corner Point, and people did not park in that lot because there was no signage, no nothing, and they were like, they parked on the side of the road because they thought it was safer than parking in the parking lot because they didn't want to get a ticket. And I'm like, you should have parked in the parking lot.
Frankly, if you put up a sign that says no parking, they'd be more likely to get parking because they know it's for parking.
I know.
It's
But
like-
they didn't know if it was a private lot, whether it was a municipal lot, whether anything. And so, they just said, well, side of the road, I might get, a ticket or something, but if it's a private lot, are they going to have me towed? So, some signage up about, where you can and can't park.
I definitely agree that I think signage would be the easiest solution, that you can park around the corner, around the corner and the edge there. You can park in this lot. Even stuff, on BCTV.
BCTV, yeah.
Just like letting people know where they can park, things on the website or newsletter or something.
Yes.
Just,
Yeah, social
just so
media.
people
Social media.
who...
I mean, it's definitely not an answer, but
No,
it's,
but
it's a help.
it'll take a little bit of the pressure off.
Even like the shopping plaza signs, like if we were to do like a classier one than just, like the big like Kohl's or whatever. But like where they have like a nice little like, here, Bad Wolf, Primal Fit, whatever, park here, something like that.
Because there's only, and the other thing too is to make sure you put on that, if I'm disabled, there's only 5 parking spots in downtown. So am I driving around looking for those if the lot is full? It's important to identify those, and maybe that is a
There's
question
two
to
in the town parking lot.
Gotcha. That's the 2 I was missing.
Yeah, but there's 5 in total.
Yep.
So, but if I'm coming to visit, those are the only spots. I mean, I've said it before. I don't think that we have enough handicap parking in the downtown area. I think
I agree.
a couple more spaces is definitely needed. But but they need to be identified and put out there so people know.
Mhm.
I'm going to Blues Night at Corner Point. Where is the closest handicap spot for me to look? Just
Does the 5 downtown include the 2 that's in our back lot?
No, the back lot isn't enumerated on this map.
Okay.
I drew it in, so I knew where it was. But
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have how many spaces? 2?
2 ADA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
2 handicap. Yeah. I mean, I know that lot. I know Alex isn't here, but I know that lot's private to the building. But we don't care.
Okay.
People can
So
park.
that's 2 more. Okay.
Yep.
But see, again, we didn't know that, so
Yeah.
getting that out there.
I mean, I knew it was there because I've been on that road, but that's about it.
Can you guys describe like what the situation is with the alley next to us? Is that town? Is that privately owned? Is it a
Are you
right
talking about the road between
between
Bad
Subway and
Wolf
Bad Wolf?
Yeah, that's it's what is it called, Matt?
Back Street.
Back Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Back Street. I think the parking is. I think we make an ordinance that it was just for the tenants of those buildings because there's only like 3 parking spaces back there.
There's like 10 parking spaces there and 5. Well, really, essentially
Well,
all the
not in the part that the ones that are behind the building, I think, are the ones that we addressed specifically because people were parking there to go to businesses or whatever, and those are like the parking specifically for those like housing units or
But
whatever.
how did they end up being parking specifically for those units? Because in my eyes, I mean, a landlordship is an LLC. So why are we paying as a town to maintain parking spots for an individual LLC? That would be like me having 3 Bad Wolf spots outside on your public land and having you guys maintain the road and nobody else can park there.
If I recall, it came up a couple of years ago. I can't remember what happened.
My understanding, and Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a long-standing understanding that those
70 years, 75?
Yeah, so it goes back double my age.
To the 50s, to the 50s.
And I think
How
it's
many
only,
apartments are
But
there?
like 3 spots, right?
No,
it's only
it's-
3 spots
Yeah.
specifically that are
there's
are-
5.
Oh, okay.
There's
But
5.
are you talking about the ones behind the building or the ones that are behind you that are
In
the-
between the building. So
in
they
between
come
the building?
down.
I don't. The parking that's in between the building, is that public, private? What is that?
No, there's 5 tenant spots for the.
There's a
They park facing the building.
Yeah, I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
But there's 5 spots, not 3.
Well, so there's 5, and then realistically, like there's one spot that is like on the curb. Like it's very like hard to tell if it's even a spot.
Yeah.
And whenever we have a customer that parks there, they get like verbally assaulted by those tenants on a regular basis. We've had those tenants come in swearing in our store, and I understand their frustration, but I don't understand why the town has put them in like this position, whether it was 75 years ago or not. Like it just doesn't make sense to me for it to be. Well, I don't know why we're like people are paying to maintain someone's businesses. Specific town law, yeah.
It's been going on for like 70 years since Ernie Norman had it years ago. And when we owned it, for about 10 to 12 years, there was always just 3 spots
Mhm.
because there's 3 one-bedrooms upstairs.
Mhm.
So it was always just 3 spots. And then another individual bought it from us, and why it went to 5, I don't know.
I know.
But it was always 3, and it was always grandfathered through the town, through the selectmen, and that's all I can tell you. You know, from what my father-in-law told me, you know, this guy knew this guy knew this guy, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, yeah, that's how it went. Yeah, I know. That's how it went. That's the story behind it. That's the story
And
behind it.
if I recall, our ordinance was specifically just like that those spots, the 3 spots, I believe was specific, was the ordinance or whatever, was that those are for the tenant parking there, and that that if you weren't a tenant and you parked there, that you could possibly receive a ticket, but we don't really enforce that. I mean, the town doesn't have a parking meter made or anything like that. So I mean, it is an ordinance, but it's not enforced.
Yeah.
So I mean, in either which way, tenants shouldn't be coming and attacking you or your customers for parking there. If they have a complaint, they should call the police. You know, that would be That'd be the logical course based on the ordinance.
And there isn't a number of spots that are enumerated, it just happens to be the space in between signs, so we need to measure out what 3 spaces actually would
How
be.
many apartments are actually there?
Three.
So there's only
There's
3
only 3
apartments.
spots.
Yeah. So if we wanted to spend money on signs, we could build 3 signs, like this one's 10 parking, 10 parking, 10 parking, and anything else is open. But
And if we do that, we should be putting them toward the back corner
Yeah.
of
Correct.
that, like that curve, because
Not
then
right
you
out
have the
on the-
whole front,
Correct.
and that would be easy parking for every. Like it literally benefits everybody at this
Yeah.
table.
Right. And
So
Yep.
I mean, the more I think about it, signs are the simplest option for a lot of these issues. But I mean, not just for the Wilson Street lot or going around in the edge, but also the town parking lots. So we have the town parking lot right in front of the town hall. People don't know if that's employee parking, public parking. I mean, there's no determination there. You have the parking lots on the other side of town hall. There are spots that are enumerated for employees only, but in general, people don't know if the rest are for public parking or anything like that. You know what I mean? So you have this ambiguity that I think doesn't lend itself to helping the situation at all.
And
who
then
maintains the parking lot when it snows? Who plows that lot?
You were talking about the one between.
I'm talking about
I
back
tell you, it's
street.
full of
Yeah.
potholes.
you guys do.
The town,
The town
Okay,
pays
so
for
the
that.
town does, not the LLC.
correct.
So we own the parking.
We own Back Street.
We don't, it is a town. It is a town. road.
And so eventually, once we get the utilities underground there, that will be paved and will be striped, so that will, I think that'll help out.
But I do agree, there's why, I mean, if it takes everything on the select board, if there's 3 apartments, compromise, you get 3 spots, but move them to the back,
Yeah. No, it's,
you know, as opposed to right where everyone's parking for businesses.
well, I agree with it.
You know, I've had this conversation with James over the years before John and his crew came down, and for years the town said, "Oh, we don't know." They denied that that was even a street. Okay, selectmen sat there and said, "It is not a street." So I said, "Okay." So I get my lawyer. We do some research. She goes to York County, coming to find out that when we owned the buildings down there, my building was 33 by 75. It would touch his brand new dumpster. The next building, the Subway, was bigger than that because there was Ricker's Plumbing in the alley where the cars are parking, was Ricker's Plumber Shop. Prime Tanning took and put that L building behind us in, moved the road, and the road, when they put the fence behind Johnny Bell's Hardware, the road they moved on the other side, and it was no longer a throughway for a little bit of a while. It was just an alley. So Prime Tanning moved the building when they built the L building.
Okay.
My deed says I own 75 feet. My lawyer says, put it in your drawer, you'll never win. That's it. I did. So my deed, going back 150 years, said I owned 75 feet. So Prime Tanning moved it. That's where Marcia Elton, some of the older people that were on the board, Sammy and them, said, well, we don't know, we don't think that's a street because it used to be an alley. For people to just make deliveries in the back. So there was a plumber shop. Devin Dukes was a store, a grocery store, the post office, and there was a bunch of different things. A lawyer upstairs, your building. So they prime moved the whole building. So now the town is saying it is Back Street. My handicap cement thing is in Back Street. His tanks is in Back Street. It's a mess.
They better leave it alone.
So
Well,
what I had talked about with Ben in the future, and I say it shouldn't be your cost, but if we're going to do this, somehow figure out to get the tanks on the ground. I don't need that thing. Rip it out. Put the drainage in you need. They did awesome drainage. That alley used to flood and come out, end up in front of Devin Dukes with silt this deep. Brad from Spencer Matthews was out there with a shovel, taking out this much silt. There was so much back up in the downtown. There's no more runoff now. You see the size of the pipes they put? So if you're going to do it right. And then once you get done, and once it's tied, and once you put your lines in, you'll be able to differentiate, geez, I just picked up maybe 4 more spots.
Yeah.
When we asked them to add the parking lot out back, which kind of like on the dead zone they had, a little bit of town, a little bit of this, it picked up 11 spots. I have to be honest with you, I think as a group, and if we're going to go forward and meet on this, we need to go back to Brad and say, Brad, you got 3 spots on your side at Spencer Matthews. None of your people should be parking in that parking lot up here, but the rest of us. And I can tell him that he's a great guy. I mean, you know, we've had this conversation. No, we've had this conversation as neighbors.
Yeah. No,
That's what we need to do. We need to sit down
have the
and sit down as
conversation.
neighbors and say,
Yeah.
when are you here? At 5 o'clock, we're gone. We're not even here on the weekends. I mean, so Spencer Matthews is gone. I mean, so that opens up everything.
That lot is huge, and I think there's a lot of education to the public that needs to happen, because I can tell you I'll pop out to take a trash out at 6:30 in the middle of our dinner rush, and downtown is completely packed, but that lot seems to be empty, and it's just like me and my partner's car.
Which lot specifically?
It's the lot that's kind of next to and/behind Spencer Matthews.
Yeah.
That being said, it is completely packed during the day. I've got to assume that it's packed during the day for Spencer Matthews employees, and I think probably I see a lot of people, daycare for sure. And that's fine. I mean, it is
That's
what
where
it
we
is.
could put some signage up.
But yeah, like if people knew, and I pinned something to our business Facebook page. Like, so if you go to the Facebook page, it's like pinned up at the top is like our menu, but also a parking map, and I like highlighted kind of like you did here, and I did include that space. But I just don't think people realize. I think they think it's Spencer Matthews, and they just assume they can't park there.
Or they don't see it at all. Like, it's really, like, kind of awkward to see it all.
Is it it's kind of an invasive spot to
Is
be
it a
in
private
with.
lot, though? Is it?
No.
I think so.
It is town.
It's on Backstreet.
Well, I get a look
Okay.
at it.
And it goes into Backstreet. It leads you into Backstreet, so that's another thing.
Yeah,
is
you
that
have to put a
alleyway
parking lot right there.
probably should be a one-way.
And it works
Because
it's got a couple
it's
the daycare.
there's no signs. Let's put it that way.
Speaking of that,
We don't,
You know.
so.
That's
Subway
what my
doesn't need-
recommendation was add
You
to
know,
the
if
3
you
assigned
couple
tenant
folks
parking spots on
daycare,
the back lot with the
like for
11
them.
spots.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then
that's
all
still not
employees
that
are-
far of a walk. I mean,
No,
get an
no,
apartment
thinking
in
of
Saco or Bedford and
Yeah.
you're hiking.
Yeah.
You're lucky to get a spot.
You could really tuck them right
How many
next to like the
spots are
dumpsters
currently
that we
available,
have
do you
for
think,
JCS,
that wouldn't interfere with
and they would be
construction
like
in the
dead
middle?
center, like
Right now.
Yeah.
every public spot would be closer.
I don't.
Yeah.
can I-
How many, what was, I'm
How
sorry.
many, how many spots?
So how many
are
spots do you
currently
think you
available?
have currently available over there right now that wouldn't impede on construction? Because
Well,
I
I
think
mean,
that's some of the
so-
fear
so
too, is
Main
people
Street-
driving in, they don't want to
Right.
get
Right,
in the
Main
way.
Street's built.
I think it's only striped. Is it striped all the way?
I think only the staff right now is.
That's built but not
Downstairs, the first
striped.
entrance through the middle.
Right, built but not striped
So,
in
no,
the
why?
side.
Oh, yeah, I actually,
Um,
this weekend, I was looking at the new path for Aroma Joe's.
But
So
the
I
other
can
thing
tell
that
you
we
right now.
basically did at Devin Dukes,
I can tell you right now.
because our clients come from everywhere. I mean, from
Yeah.
Portsmouth hospitals, West
Yeah,
Coast,
yeah.
you name it. And when they're coming, we basically tell them, and all the girls do too in Scotland, and when I was there full time. Okay, if you can't, there's no spot out front, there's nothing across the street, pull behind the building, get out of your car, press the buzzer. We'll bring your order out. They call us on the phone, I'm coming in on the building, we load up 4 or 5 boxes, they're
I want
gone.
to say these are done.
I mean, we've done
So it's
that.
19
So
plus 3,
we've
so that's
educated,
equals
you know,
21.
don't even get out of your car. I'll wheel them down here. You know, so
then there-
it's all about working
That
together.
was
Because you don't want to
Yeah,
lose.
I think up to like here-ish is striped by.
Yeah.
big time.
Obviously,
There's more parking here
they're not, yeah, but they're paid, which is another
Calculate what's done.
Not this lot.
Yeah,
here.
I think we should take those.
Is this an older
parking
picture, maybe?
ones
Yeah, just move,
And move them over to the Spencer.
because before that wasn't an option.
Right.
Now it is.
You know,
Yeah, one spot per-
I think they're talking about
Yeah.
that 11.
Yeah,
Which
and I
one?
think that's all we agreed on too.
Oh.
You know, I guess that's something we would have to address if they're trying to figure out.
And that would leave all of the
That's
ones
11.
in between the buildings, like Subway, Devin Dukes, all those on that
What,
street.
do we have public?
63
Open.
plus 11.
Not
They
actually.
want to use it
counting
overnight,
the
fine, I don't care.
No.
You know, because nothing else is happening during business hours, this is it.
As I said,
No, we don't, and so like I was saying, with that back lot, like Alex and I have had conversations about posting that back lot as one Sullivan parking only, but we don't want to, like, it's not, you know, if it's a farmer's market or an event, or if they're holding an event upstairs, like, you know, there's not enough parking downtown, you know, unfortunately.
Is there no parking in the back?
Plus,
I don't know. I've never- I
There's
don't
probably
know.
some with construction equipment here.
Oh, God.
What's that tally right there?
When the
It's
outskirt
right above,
perimeter
So that's
is
18
done,
plus
The
12, so
building.
that's
Oh, okay.
18
Yeah,
right there.
that's
so
what the apartment is.
74,
let you know
18.
how many spots are gonna be all around the perimeter on Wilson Street, School Street.
And then that doesn't
So
even
that's
include
a
the
town
no, right
decision,
here.
but if you look at these plans here, that's a pretty good segue to
Yeah.
perimeter parking. Dennis, there's a
So actually, we're gonna gain.
Is safe.
Yeah, if you look at the plan over here,
So we're gonna gain
we're looking
spots.
at picking up approximately
Because I can tell you.
19 spaces along Sullivan Street
Yeah.
after the Eleanor. So from the Eleanor main intersection up Sullivan, and then we're planning on doing it down Wilson Street as well. So I don't know how many spots that is. Maybe 30.
Is there any plan to put angled parking right here?
For Rochester
Down
Street.
Rochester Street?
Metal building.
We've floated the idea, talked about public safety. They're not, public safety's not thrilled about the idea of having parking
And the
on.
lot right across
Yeah,
the street too.
I think Chief Town had an issue with it.
Yeah.
I think we brought it up with him when he was here.
What was the issue, if you don't, do you remember?
They
I
had the
don't,
issue
Jamie, I
with
can't remember exactly what it was.
passive, like passive,
Yeah,
so
they go
say if
together.
there's like a kid
Yeah, I'm not sure.
just swinging the door open
Yeah,
onto
that's what he said.
Rochester Street as they're coming down.
I think
But if they're
there-
angled, you wouldn't have any issues with,
I don't think there's enough room angled.
Yeah, I
So
think
we were
Is that what
looking
it
at-
is?
And we were looking at parallel parking.
oh,
You know, like-
Sorry,
If you stop
might
there,
work.
no, it's
92.
one way, so
Already
they're only
done.
on the side of
But-
that.
Yeah,
Because
when
when we have the
angled,
farmer's
92.
market, you see those cars
Like,
parked there.
I know, they park there anyways.
yeah, is that, no, that's what I'm saying, like, that is, you can fit 3 cars wide there, and sometimes they do.
And
Those
then
right
have that
now
because there
because
wasn't
it's
enough
still
room.
like
Well,
across.
yeah, no, and that's what I was
But
trying to ask, because
parallel
obviously we don't want to
parking-
direct people there where it's going to
Building
interfere with what's
extensions,
still
like a
being
lip
done. We don't
so
want to
that
put people
would have
in
to
the
be
way,
wider,
I
but-
think for
there, you know what I mean?
events
Like-
or like
but,
the car show, we talked about
also Town
this year,
Works
it's
doesn't
okay
like
to
that,
use
because it
that,
messes
you know.
up the plowing
We're getting to
for
that
that,
point.
because they can't,
Yeah.
because they can't turn.
It's
there,
awesome
so
though,
they have-
because it's
Right,
because
so
like
they
I said,
go all
the first
way
time I went through
around
it was
to
actually
get
today.
that.
I'm pretty
and I'm
sure
like, oh man,
DOT
it's actually a lot
might
more
be
finished
able
in here than I
back
thought.
up
But
Rochester
that's,
Street too.
yeah.
But I'll go back.
but I think that's kind of the general
back when you were
consensus of
doing
anybody
our
in
traffic
town is,
study,
oh, there's still
angle
construction, you
parking
can't
is
go there yet.
shown
Yeah.
You know, and
there.
because the Roma Joes
Yeah.
will pull
And
away.
there's a reason why I had to switch to parallel.
It's because
busy
when you
today.
did the angle
Yeah, yeah,
parking,
good,
So-
the vehicles were out, and there wasn't enough space between the angled back end of the car that was angled in and across the street, because it had to be so many feet.
Yeah.
And they said you don't have enough space for angle parking. But then it moved to parallel parking, and then the whole issue of, okay, well now you're going to have to create a lip, and when you do that little lip, then the plows aren't going to. But I could see the plows going around a second time we could make it, but
Well, I mean, that was not the deciding factor.
no, it wasn't. I'm saying that was part of the conversation.
Yeah, it definitely was part of the conversation.
Yeah, I think that's some prime real estate for, even if it's 4 spots or 5 spots.
Right.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
feel
And
like
I mean, look at
like-
downtown South Berwick.
Yeah.
I know.
You want to talk about opening a door and losing your door?
Yeah.
Like, they've got parallel parking on both sides, and, you know,
And we've done it.
You can't get in.
That's what I mean. The farmer's market,
Oh, I just-
the lawn chairs, they're always parked there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that we haven't seen it before and it hasn't worked before.
Yeah.
My feeling is wait, when is this part of the Sullivan Street Wilson Street? When is that projected to be done or on the schedule?
Next year, probably. Well, maybe starting a little bit this year, but probably finished. It would be optimistically, it would be next year, as long as things
What part
come
is that?
together.
Where they
The
want to
Sullivan-
the
Sullivan
spaces
Street.
on Sullivan Street
That.
and then Wilson Street, the outer
perimeter.
edge, the outer edge
That-
of the edge.
So-
That
So this part?
No, the color map.
Oh, this, okay, yeah.
So yeah, I feel like we have. There's definitely a parking shortage, but I feel like it's manageable if we are communicating with the public better about where they can park. Because I have felt the ambiguity of where you can park and when is it okay. And, you know, nobody wants to get towed. It's the most inconvenient thing in the world. I've been towed for parking in the wrong place before, and it ruined my day. It just
It is
ruins
bad, yeah.
everything.
Right.
No,
So-
just you said there's a couple spots that are designated for employees for the town. Do those at least have hours on them?
They do.
They do.
Okay.
They have. Well,
Yeah, we updated those
that.
not too long
The
ago.
Like a week ago.
The signs are in the lot. They say.
But they are
say-
updated.
Fair enough.
But to me, I still feel like there's ambiguity about whether you can still park there. You know what I mean? You know, it's just
Because
like,
there's more spots than there is
Yeah.
employees, so.
you know, it's like there's 10 spots out of 30 that are designated, you know, but people don't know that it's public parking and anybody else can park there too and go pick up their pizza or whatever, you know?
Okay.
So I feel like communication would solve 75% of this issue now, and I feel like most of the rest of it could be solved with communication with the owners and making sure that people, you know, Domino's is parking their stuff around the corner and out back and not, you know, delivered in the middle of the street, or and that once the edge is actually complete, you know, we'll have a lot more people going there, but we'll also have a lot more parking. It won't look as crowded as it really is. Because to your point, like, yeah, when it looks crowded, nobody wants to stop and park and and add to the mess. When you're driving through downtown Dover at 4 p.m. and every spot is full, nobody wants to stop and wait for pizza or whatever because you're going to have to park 3 blocks away. Yeah, I do agree with that. So I feel like we can solve a lot of this with signage, with communication, with, you know, making sure people know what's available, because there is parking there. It's just that people don't know where they can park, and that includes us up here. We don't know where we
Right.
are.
But I also think we should look at, you know, like you said, maybe we've had this long-standing 75-year tradition of
Yeah.
giving up 3 spots that now have suddenly turned into 5, go back to 3 spots and move them to a less,
That's,
you know, area,
no, I
because
totally agree.
because we can, I mean, we own the lots of the
Yeah,
road, we
we're
can
gonna
do
do
that.
that.
And by also doing that, I think that will open up to where then communication to say to these vendors, if you're making a delivery, please make it in here. And yeah, I mean, they don't need to park directly in front of the building to offload. They could park over there to offload. And I think
That's
where it
I think that
comes
should
out.
also be the message, that you don't have to park right in front of the building to patronize the building.
Right.
You don't have to walk 4 feet, and if it's more than that, you just give up, you know?
Right.
You don't have to, if you're not parked right in front of Bad Wolf, you can park, you know, a block away, and you'd still be, you know,
Yeah, but
easy
I-
walking distance.
But I think signage, like you said, on your lot, people they just think it's a private lot, so they're not really sure, they're confused. Same thing with downtown, or in the businesses too, sort of partner up and say, put something on the Corner Point website, hey, if you're coming to an event, here are some parking options, have something in there, you know, on your thing. I like the fact that you have it right on your website where the menu is. Coming in, stopping in, here's some time, especially designating, you know, where are the handicap spots? Because if you drive around, you're not going to know there's 2 behind you. There's not going to, I mean, if you're unfamiliar, you're having an event there and you're inviting people, the only one they're going to see is that one that's directly in front of the town hall, which is most likely taken. Hey, where do I look for the others? So maybe we could put something up too in front of the town hall where that sign is, some sort of tribe, we could look into that, where it literally said, I think somebody mentioned it, is here's where all the businesses are located, because a lot of new things are coming into the edge, and some people are like, well, what's coming? What's it? Take a walk around town, take a look, here's the signage, here's where you want to go, and check some stuff out.
Is anyone on the Vision Berwick committee here? Because I know they just came out with the business directory, and that would be another good, if you pair that business directory with
Jeremy.
what you
Parking.
have.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
That's a good idea.
I was just going to ask them to put something on BCM anyways, that there's parking
Yeah.
open
Well,
right
there's
now too.
that
Just
too,
you know.
So we're having this parking discussion and about educating the public and things like that.
Yep.
And so is it possible for Envision Berwick, you just put out the business directory?
Yep.
Is it possible to add where all the parking spots are in downtown, where the handicap spots are, which ones are timed? so that anyone coming to visit any one of these businesses can see from that directory, hey, this is where the parking available is. Is it possible to pair it up?
Sure, so the directory lives on the website at the moment,
Okay.
right? So we would add a page to the directory with a sort of a map that's,
That's what we're looking for,
Yeah.
yeah.
the creation of that map as an interactive map, is that something that we would do in Google Maps, James? Or, because you want it to be able to show, like if I park here at this time, that spot is no longer available, is that right?
No, not
No,
Just where parking
Just
is in
show
general.
where the parking
So it
spots
doesn't
are.
have to change based
No.
on,
No.
it's just here's
And could we, and possibly could BCM do something if we put something together? about-
100%.
Thank you.
Well, yeah.
Thank you.
We can do it during our town manager update.
Perfect.
Here's parking.
Thank you,
Take
Darren.
us on a guided tour, a walking tour.
Here's parking. There's more parking spaces.
Yeah. I don't
Honestly,
think,
that's not. I know you're joking, but that's not a bad idea to actually put a visual cue out there of this is what's available.
available.
This is what's still active construction. Avoid this, but
Yeah.
to help direct.
because you're going to highlight all the businesses while you're walking around and then telling people where to park to come. I mean, I don't, this is a workshop. We are in no way going to address all of the issues. This is going to be an ongoing conversation, but there are a few things we can do. We can add some, maybe 1-2 more handicap bases. We can educate the public more. And I agree 100% with you is we should be ahead of the game, not behind it. So now would be the time, while we're doing construction, to see what else is, and look at, concept planning. And see about that parking. Should we put that in now? Is it something that we at least put in the plan? And I don't mean like now 2024, but is it something that we put in the next 5 or 10 years? And how do we go about doing that? Because you start putting all these businesses and all these apartments, you're inviting people to come to Berwick, which we want. They got to have a place to park.
I know the owner of the lot that abutting the back of the town lot. So if you're looking at like the back half of the town hall parking lot,
Yep.
through the woods,
Yeah.
there's like you could double the size of the parking lot, or do potentially like a parking. What's it called?
Behind like the
Blank.
boxing place?
Yep, it's behind the boxing place for a potential garage. Also, I don't know if the town buys that, but
Well, we have funds for spaces and stuff like that.
if there's grants like you were talking
But
about, maybe
If we got a grant for a
Especially if
parking
he's tying it in with the DOT or the, what do you call it?
Yeah.
Park and ride.
Parking ride.
Parking ride. I mean,
Sounds
I didn't want to.
Sounds like a job for what's the position?
Director of Community and
Yeah, there you go.
Dennis.
Sounds like a job for
I didn't want to infringe on John and his group about that spot, but it just makes sense because they're going to put in all these units and all these businesses and everything, and it just makes sense that hopefully that they can work with us because the parking ride makes sense, and you can expand off of that with another layer of garage. And if you've got 120 on this map now and there's another 120 up there, it's just, we shouldn't be waiting 75 years like Wentworth Douglas Hospital in downtown Dover. I mean, if you don't have to. And if the infrastructure money is there, it's pulling all the powers to be able to do this. Now, John did say that, it could be something that they might want to develop in the future. But I guess it's just being able to say, can we work with John in Great Falls and figure this out and say, does it really benefit as developing it, or does it benefit the town 100 years from now when we're all gone? And we had some vision for this, and we had some vision to be able to say, hey, they thought about it and we're not doing it in the year 21, 24.
Yeah.
Then we have
No, I
flying
agree.
cars.
No, I don't mean you stepping on your toe.
I'm stepping on
I've
it.
got to
No,
assume
this
is
that,
a workshop. Let's
as
talk
this
about
all
ideas.
gets done,
Yeah,
some
I
of the
know, it is,
sidewalks are getting
yeah.
updates as well.
I mean,
Yes.
Yes.
Is there a timeline on the sidewalk that's basically someone would probably take from that lot that's kind of takes that curve? Because I live right up off of Sullivan, and I have to cross the street 4 times from walk to walk, and there's part of it that I don't even have sidewalk. And they're not in the best condition. So I can tell you right now, if I was not the business owner that I now am, I never went to Zop High. Like, I lived right in town the entire time of their existence, and I never bothered because of the parking, and like I'm like it's not really a safe walk for me. So
Where in Sullivan Street?
do I live? I'm not sure.
Never mind. From
actually-
the park and ride down past like the Great Falls
So, if you,
chain
so
link
that,
fence.
that plan has sidewalks on both sides.
Yes, I'm just more talking like I've got to assume that's happening because of all what we're doing, but like the timeline, or,
Like that right there.
I don't want that.
yeah,
A little further up.
Interest in
Yeah.
that building.
Probably
The blue sort
realistically
building.
next
Yeah.
year.
Okay.
Well, next year, hopefully
I mean,
next
we
year.
haven't looked at it.
We have,
I know you gotta
we have
look.
funding
Yeah,
for
yeah.
it, but it's just a matter of.
Yeah, that's.
And I
We
think
did
that
like
building's a
further
piece of
up
junk, if you ask me.
before down.
Yeah, I know. But
I think,
if you could.
What was the reasoning?
That, because
Yeah.
that required more
Yeah.
design.
And then
Yeah.
you've got the little one across the street.
because the
That's-
sidewalk right
But
outside
this-
your
that
building
KSC.
that's been redone, right? Like that's nice.
That's a
now,
nice
right?
corner.
And then
Yes.
up near going
Yes.
up towards the ballpark, that got redone. So it's the other side where you cross over right at that corner because there's no sidewalk on one side. You have to cross, but then that's where it's like basically
Yeah.
just pavement.
Yeah,
it's
if
not
you're
really
in a
sidewalk.
wheelchair or have a stroller, you're not
No,
going on that.
It's
It's the runoff of the road that you're walking
right.
through. Yes.
Right.
And it's true.
And I walked it up with my
the
kids.
parking, the sidewalks have been a long discussion going back 5 or 6 years or more as well. I remember James gave the whole presentation years ago about like these are the classes of sidewalks we could get. We can get the Class A gold tier sidewalks that or we can go down to Class C, which is basically just we put tar over it, and just and it's something that we definitely want to do, but it's one of those things where it's hugely it's way more expensive than you think it would be for something as simple as a sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's a huge construction. When you're doing real sidewalks, they're putting in giant pieces of
Granite.
the rock and the concrete. It's a huge project that costs a fortune.
Yeah.
And I think it was something like $4 million to
Oh my
redo like all the sidewalks the way we wanted to do them.
Yeah.
And we ain't got that money.
The reason I bring it up
I'm
is
gonna open a
obviously
sidewalk company.
like you guys said, some people right off the bat, like we're in a society nowadays where everything's at our fingertips, and so the willingness to like park a little farther to walk somewhere
Yeah.
is not what it used to be. And so if we're trying to combat this feeling, it's first like, okay, if I have to park far away, that's fine. But the walk from my car to that next point has got to be reasonable enough, safe enough, pleasant enough for me to then do that with takeout bags in my hand and probably wrangling a couple kids at the same time.
Yep.
Because we're a family restaurant. So if we lose out on that, like I imagine a lot of people with kids probably don't come to us because, you know what I mean? I'm just thinking like how I would think as a
understand what you
parent.
mean.
Yep.
So yeah, that's all.
Yeah, somebody else brought up, kind of parking related but kind of not, is that in Berwick, it doesn't say on here, do we have any bike, racks? So that if we encourage people to park on the outside and come into an event, or even employees that might feel comfortable if I'm on a bike as opposed to walking, is that something that we can look into as well? Maybe.
Dropping a couple racks around there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something
just
like
around
that.
town, so that people can park their bike and walk it, and then.
Bucks each.
I'll donate a bike rack to the town. There you go.
I don't know how much is the
Like, how
bike rack
expensive
cost?
would they
They're like
be?
200, 250
I'll
bucks.
take it
They're
back.
not expensive.
They're not that
Old school.
expensive, but,
Trash cans.
I know, even
Trash cans are
trash cans.
expensive.
Yeah.
Everything's expensive.
But eventually, when this is all built, we're gonna want to encourage, bikers, but especially to employees, things of that nature. We got to
Well, I mean,
think outside the
we
box a
should
little
we
bit.
should want to encourage bikers anyway because I read even our master plan, our comprehensive plan, it is said that we're supposed to encourage green initiatives and things like that, and
Yeah.
that would be a good initiative. I do have one more question about the Wilson Street lot. Something that bothers me about the lot is, I mean, it's great, it's a lot of space, but also there's two big, mounds of dirt and, unlandscaped tree, bush or whatever. And I just, I don't know what your plan is or what the idea is, but if you, when you do redo it, I would suggest make it bigger. Like if it's allowed, if it's possible, I don't know what you have to do to possibly do that, but it feels like you could add 30 spaces just by taking out a couple, a few dozen feet of that, unused space and paving over that. If you're going to repave the whole thing anyway, that might be something that is possible as well. Because I don't know what the possibility is, but
Yeah, I think we would, we hadn't really looked too much at expanding it. I think that would be a civil engineering and planning board exercise and all that.
Yeah.
I do know that, I mean, when you talk about the signage and stuff required there, once the DOT lot is in place, there will be signage. That's part of the equation, and the landscaping will be cleaned up. So I think that'll help a lot. I don't know, I can't recall what the signage is going to say. We talked about it when we were talking with the DOT. There may be more required at that point, we can see, but I think...
Well, here's a good question for you. If the town bought signage that was just like public parking here or whatever, could we put that up? Would you list?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be able to be used for parking. I think the danger, I guess, we just want to be sensitive to. I mean, at some point, the businesses that are at the edge. I mean, the residents, we can we can direct them where to park, and the idea is that we would direct them to that lot and the lots on site. We've got the lots on site in there, but combined, it's 300 and. I don't know. It's under 400 spots combined, So,
but but we're talking about the next year or two,
right?
They're not going to be done in that
exactly.
time.
Exactly.
And that's the time that speaking from experience, and new businesses, if they're going to fail, they're going to fail usually early on, and we don't want that to happen to anybody's new businesses. We want them to thrive now.
Right.
No, it's just like the pizza place. Like that was I want a pizza place in town, and that didn't last. I mean, very long at all, frankly. And they had a quality product, from what I understand from most people, who was very happy with it. They just I want to see the businesses be able to thrive, and I don't want lack of parking while construction is going on to be part of the equation.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
I don't want the business owners coming in early being penalized for being in there early.
That's 100% right. So, I mean, I'm not talking about permanently, but I mean, in the meantime, while everything is getting built and things are in the works, is that something that could work?
Yeah, I think it can. I mean, I can't remember do you remember what we talked about, James, on that? I mean, we talked a lot about that lot, and I know Julie would remember it quite well, but I don't know what we've got for signage, what the plan is. But our concept is shared parking, right? Yeah. So, under that pretense, there will be people that park on the edge or in our lots that are not going to the edge or going to our things. That's just kind of how it works. I'm a little guarded in a sense, just because we do have a duty to our tenants to make sure that we're not just it's not all rainbows and butterflies here, and anybody and everyone can take it. But I think the reality is in the interim, when there aren't things built there, that like Michael asked the question, how many parking spots right now, and there are, not counting the gravel lot, but that you were speaking about, Ally, just counting like the spots on Main Street and the spots in the drive-through loop going to Aroma Joe's, there's 92, I believe it is, right? Mm-hmm. So there's 92 spots right now that are paved, not being used, again, because people do feel as though it's a construction site. And they're being used slightly because we have some tenants that are in 8 Main Street, but Aroma Joe's just opened up a few days ago, so more people are going to be rolling through there. We are wrapping up that building, and we're going to be our plan is to move to the other side of the site at 1618 Sullivan, and hopefully we'll have some grass growing and areas there, just kind of clean that area up and let it sit for a bit, before we're back building over on that side of the site. So I think that'll all help sort of bringing people through there. And during events, I know that James had asked us about the car show. And like, we do think this is the year that it finally can start to go up Main Street, you know, and so I think all of these things will start to show people. And you know, I'm reluctant. Those 92 spots are there. If there's events going on or a few people park there, it's not an issue. You know, if all of a sudden it's jammed up and we can't work there, we can't do anything. But I don't see how that's really going to happen.
No,
correct.
We would deal with that at the time.
Yeah, and signage can be temporary, and it can move, and it can move on whatever you guys have going on too. Because the last thing we want to do is impede on any of the construction or any of the work that's being there too.
And that's why people
think
don't
it's
park
just that.
there because they don't want to get in the way.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
they're not afraid you're going to crush their car with a bulldozer. They're afraid they're going to get in the way and ruin your day.
Right.
So
Maybe like if we could send out a memo to the tenants at the edge right now, encouraging like employee parking to be behind, like where the daycare, like the paved spots behind the daycare.
The 11 spots, like next to the dumpster you're talking about?
No, like
or over on the Aroma Joe's side?
Yes, but not like the Aroma Joe's spots and not the ones next
So,
to the next ones, like where the glass facing the glass doors of the daycare.
I think that definitely getting together as people at the edge to talk about where employees should park is a good thing.
Yeah.
Why don't we decide that offline? Because I think we should. Everyone should weigh in on it. Like,
I'd say
where's a good
employees and even
idea?
deliveries too.
Yeah.
You know, if you guys have a designated spot and you're taking it off the road and putting it back, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Does anybody have anything else they want to add before we adjourn?
Just one, hopefully, quick thing. Hopefully. The lots that are all designated 2-hour parking, and I know I complained a lot when the other signs went up a couple years ago, which, ironically, it says no limit observed right there. All these other lots and all these other spaces say 2-hour parking. There's no signage now, right?
I don't think there is.
So
Yeah, the only signage is right up here,
It's inside.
Yeah, that inventory is from 2019, I think.
So if there's going to be signage done, is the 2-hour parking thing going to be enforced? Is it going to be on the signs?
I don't. That will be a discussion, and we'll have to figure that out. Again, in terms of the parking, the general rule with our ordinance in terms of parking is it's meant to be suggestive to help people, you know, actually conduct business.
Right.
In terms of enforcement, we don't have a parking division. We don't have a meter maid. There's nobody going up making marks on tires and leaving tickets and things like that. You know, it's more of as a guideline so that people aren't monopolizing spaces. We don't want people there parking overnight. We don't want people parking in a 2-hour spot and being like, "Oh, I work here, so I'm going to park here for 8 to 12 hours."
Correct.
And take up a spot that a customer would take. You know, that's the real purpose of that type of ordinance. But the reality is, you know, the police have real crimes to deal with. So
For sure. And I'm
they're
bringing
not
it up.
Streets of Berlin.
Yeah, I only bring it up because it most likely would impact me the most.
Yeah.
But it would impact them as well if he's doing a 6-hour tattoo.
Yeah.
Or once you start serving alcohol,
Yeah.
people are going to hang.
Yeah, but it's
But,
suggested.
you know, we are with the space that we have now, we're really starting to do a lot more private parties and functions. And then, I mean, I'm sure a bunch of you have been to the blues jam that we do, which is 3 hours, and we have bands that are 3 hours.
Yeah.
And just hanging the 2-hour signs across the street when that happened with Zapai was there.
But Jamie, I don't know. I mean, because right now it's the 2 hours that it's 8 to 6, and I don't know even if it's we go back to it and say it's 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. How much of that, you know, and doing that, how much of that impede? But, you know, because if we just did it in that little Monday through Friday 9 to 5, because then that shouldn't impede you on the weekends or. Sorry, Ben. It might still impede you a little. You know where that's. But I mean, would that be easier? Or would that be something that's better?
So the sign.
Because right now it's 2-hour parking, but it says 8 to 6.
95% of the time, it's not going to impact any of us.
Yeah.
Most people aren't going to hang for 4 hours.
No.
If they do, they're going to need Uber or something.
Yeah.
But in the case where you guys have events upstairs, or we're doing events, or whatever, I know from experience when they posted across the street, we got flooded with people that were kind of what Dennis was saying. They came, they were like, this lot's full and that lot's full, and all that's over there is 2-hour parking. So we just decided not to come.
Okay.
So, like I said, 95% of the time, it's not going to impact any of us.
Yeah.
but there's going to come times where it does. So if it's never been posted,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll throw the recommendation out there that we don't post it. I mean, we put signage up, but, you know, I agree with the employees shouldn't be parking there. And same with Dennis said earlier.
Yeah.
My mom, my wife, a couple other people got lazy and they started parking in the closest ones to our front door. You know, and everyone has to park out back. So,
So, would you like? So, what was your suggestion? Like, it says Monday through Friday.
Go 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, because I would
Thank
think
you.
that's the only time that. Thank you guys. You know,
That 2 hour.
you know,
parking
it's.
is
I think more so that recommendation was town hall business, so they're away, and you know, like
Yeah.
James said, it's an antiquated model, and we didn't have a bunch of different businesses downtown when we came up with
When
this.
we
So
did it,
maybe
yeah.
it's, you know,
So you prefer it just say.
or
public
Jamie's just saying don't throw it at all, and
but
just say, you
that-
know.
9 to 5. That's fine.
I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
So-
like,
I'm not
like
for or
dinner
against
rush,
one way or the other
You
either.
know, dinner rush or whatever. I mean, I don't know what your. I'm not speaking for you. I don't know what your tattoo schedule is or whatnot. Like, you know, I'm sure you don't want to do a 6-hour tattoo starting at 7 o'clock at night.
My clients never have an issue with it. You know, it's like it's not enforced.
Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly.
If it's
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
enforced, then it might be a
I
problem.
think the signage should just say at this point, until we get everything else done, just what is public parking and what is
Yeah,
private parking.
and just
That
leave
seems
it.
to be the issue.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm not for. Again, I mean, I'm not for or against putting the time limit on there. I was just.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, frankly, again, the time limit was meant to help the businesses, you know, not be, you know, not get stuck with no parking at all because people actually move on. They know it's not permanent parking. You know.
Is there a plan, James, or is it us that we can do? Because I have two things on here for next steps. Is the backstreet parking? How do we address that? Is that going to have to come before the board in order to move those spots over to?
I can take a look at it and come back with a report to the board and just measure out. I think just kind of right now the two signs or two arrows pointing at each other, and we just have to. I'll just measure what the distance.
Right, but
between-
irrelevant to that, can't we move those
Yeah.
over? So by just talking to the LLC and saying, you know, these are our designated spots. If it takes another select board thing, we're not taking them away, or you're going to have three, but the
Wanna make
three
sure
are
you
going
always
to be
have
moved
parking.
over here because this is going to be parking for businesses in town.
Yeah.
And there'll be 3 spots. So they're not losing the spots, we're just moving them. And I don't know what that takes, if you could look that up. And then how do we get, do we need a vote to designate additional handicap spots?
Well, it takes more than a vote because we actually have to.
It's got to be.
It's got to be repainted.
Right.
Well, yeah, I know, but I mean to assign it as that.
Are the buildings handicap accessible?
Mine is, yeah. We have 3 different handicap
I think all the new
accessible
ones
points,
are.
but I don't have any spot except for the one in front of the town hall. Like that
Right.
one, and you would have to like go pretty far to get.
You'd have to cross the street.
You have to go and then
the
across.
street, yeah.
What about the others? I'm just asking. I mean,
The other one is on the town alley side, and that would be like for our service corridor, which really you can't even get into our store from that way, on either side, and then like the unpaved parking lot. And I don't think there's any assigned spots in the unpaved parking lot right
I was
now.
going to say I don't think you have anything that's ADA compliant if it's unpaved.
Exactly, I don't think that's going to
Yeah,
fly.
it's not, and I know the sidewalks too, because my daughter is disabled, and we came here, we parked right in front of Devin Dukes to go to Untrucked on the wrong day, that it was closed. We did make it all the way to the 3rd floor, and the very nice gentleman said, yeah, today's Tuesday.
Yeah.
But
We're
she
getting
had
more
diffi-
signs.
She had
For
difficulty
inside.
getting up onto the sidewalk, and then it's angled, the way it's angled, and then getting into the building. She had trouble that once she got in, there was an elevator, so she was able to get upstairs. But when that was closed, we said, okay, let's walk down to Subway. And the sidewalk is, really uneven. And I never, so you needed it, didn't give it much thought.
yeah, that's why I asked, because I'm like, if we're putting the spots in, we got to make sure we can get into the buildings too.
Right, yeah.
I'm sure that I don't know if it takes a vote. It probably does because it would cost money to do it. But we can look into seeing about adding handicap somewhere.
And James, can you get us quotes on bike racks and maybe some sort of signage
Sure.
Like those tripod things, you know, like a triangle that you see in downtown areas, that maybe we could put centrally located so that people could see, hey, because it also helps to highlight the businesses. I saw on the business thing that this was downtown. Where is it? You know, it's down past here.
By tripod, do you mean like
Signage.
wayfinding signs?
Yes.
Yeah, like a big,
Yes.
you know, it's like this, and you go, like you said, the
You
mall.
are here.
Yeah, you're here. And then have a map of all the
like
parking,
yeah.
and then the little arrows with
Like
all
a
the
kiosk?
businesses.
Like a
Yes,
kiosk.
kiosk,
Yeah,
that's the word I'm
kiosk.
looking for, thank you. Yeah.
And on, as far as signage, one thing that might help, what you started with the deliveries.
Yeah.
Access is a nightmare down here, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of truck drivers that you don't want going down small alleyways and
Yeah.
stuff, because they'll take out buildings.
In line.
If
think
we're
when
talking
it
about,
can't
yeah,
be done.
yeah,
No,
if we're talking about signage, one thing to put up, you can put in front of my building, put it over here, is just something that says deliveries, 15-minute time limit, or whatever.
Yeah, that's not
So
a
if
bad
you've got a
idea
truck,
either.
and I know we're talking about Domino's, like, if you've got a Domino's truck pulling up and he's sitting out there for 2 hours.
2.5.
Come on.
It's a full 18.
I mean, I get 3 or 4
Not even a
deliveries a
pop.
month from 18-wheelers, and they pull up right in front of the building. I offload them with a fork truck, and they drive off. Like,
Yeah.
they're not, I think the longest one's ever been here is 15, 20 minutes, maybe. Normally, it's 5.
Yeah.
You know, so if there's a time limit for deliveries, that'll
Yeah, our
dramatically
longest
help.
delivery is literally 15 minutes.
Yeah,
they run in
exactly.
and out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah,
imagine.
they don't want to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They want to offload and go. Okay.
and that's to help
They
you
can
guys,
go on
businesses, and
upstairs.
No, absolutely. That helps
Traffic
everybody.
flow.
But,
Yes.
yeah.
No, absolutely.
I really can't imagine that other
I think that
But
would
we're not.
require an ordinance, but we can do that.
yeah, just something to look into.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, we have some research to do.
And again, these are things we didn't need until you guys started actually investing in the town. So thank you. Because
Yeah.
now as things are developing, these are
Oh,
you
and
know,
with that, you might want to include, if we are going for more green initiatives, if it is going to be sitting there for 2 hours, it needs to be off.
Shut off
We
the
can't
engine.
have idling.
That's a good point.
Is the truck on?
Yes, it was.
I'm still a fan. I know he's
I would have
like
climbed.
more
I would have
because
climbed
he-
in the truck and
He
shut
doesn't
off.
know what he's going to do with that load yet.
Although-
They're asking a lot to ask him
Yeah,
for,
no,
but
no.
I still like
It's
the
if it's a
parking
refrigerated
garage
truck, wouldn't it have to
idea.
run?
I don't, you know, and I think Linda, you know, it's like, granted, they're gonna put 55 million in there and tabulate the square footage, and over 25 years, they're gonna get back 850 million on my numbers, which is great.
Yeah, good for them.
In 30 years, 40 years, it's gonna be $1 billion. Kudos to them. That's exciting. They came here, they're gonna do that. But we shouldn't feel bad about asking something that basically, if that lot has got now 15 buildings on it, 10 years from now, where's our parking garage?
Right.
None. All I'm saying is, when you look at it, and I said it before, with Wentworth Hospital, downtown Dover, all these years, and I don't think it's much to ask, because in the end, they're gonna make money on it anyway. They got the parking right, so I don't know if they're getting compensated for that or
Yeah.
not.
no, I'm sure
They
there's
could
a
end
tax
up put a
credit for
parking
that.
garage in and you pay $1 for the day. So, you know, tabulate 120 times, 365. I mean, there's opportunities,
And there's other opportunities
but
as
we
well.
need some help.
Right, exactly. Partnering with them, because I also see, we keep talking about the edge, but I think even when the edge is done, the plan is, it's going to expand even further. Look at Memorial Field. We have a dirt parking lot up there, and
Yeah.
try and find a spot when they're having a game. So if you had a parking garage, that's not far of a walk to walk up there to watch the game.
Yeah.
Because
Or a
right
bike
now,
ride.
they're all over the place.
They're
When you
parking
try
on
to
my
go
front
to the
lawn.
corner-
We've had people park at Cumberland Farms to go to the Blues Jam.
Yes, yeah.
Literally.
Yep.
I hope I don't get towed. I'm like, well, I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, people, you know, like you were saying, there's a lot of people that won't. But if if you've got to draw for something,
Yep.
people will do it as long as it's not hailing and snowing and whatever. People are willing to walk. If
Yep.
you make it pedestrian friendly from the parking to wherever the businesses are, and you provide the parking.
Yeah, that's why I also like some bicycle things.
No, that's it. You have a couple bike racks. You have people who are willing to bike. They know
And
that they can
just
trade
based
up.
on
They can,
what Jamie just said, look at the KSC Hall. Look at the metal building.
Yeah.
That could be 4 stories high with another
not according to our
175
land
units.
use ordinance. No, but
You know what I mean? That could be 4 stories high with another 175 units.
The metal building.
I almost
That could
bought
be
it.
100
Yeah.
to 200 seat restaurant in a metal building.
Yeah.
So now that whole topic of the parking garage might be full on a Friday night.
That's, yeah, because I think what's going to end up happening,
It's a
even
tax
down
write-off.
school going down past Cumberland Farms.
I thought about
There are people looking
donating
there as well for businesses.
tables.
So I think that more than just the Edge, over time, the Edge is going to attract more business.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely.
Correct.
It will.
I need to
And
monitor
I'm
their
hoping
trash
we
can because
Do it
get our
right.
fair share of
I
business.
have already found
Yeah.
people leak trash
Yeah, me
outside.
too. Okay.
Yeah, they will.
Any other comments? Any other questions, concerns?
Unrelated to parking, but kind of with signage, are there any wrong way signs on Sullivan Street? Because there's no
That would
day
take away a
that
lot.
I'm tattooing that someone's not going up.
I know. I see
There
it
is
quite
there is a
often.
wrong way sign up here.
Up there,
but,
I
yeah.
think there needs to be some.
That would take away a lot of
even
joy.
at the island or something.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like I've
There's a
seen
disconnect.
that very close.
We've seen them
Oh, yeah.
come out of the parking lot in front of, across the street and go right, and it's
Uh,
like, then the light turns green.
Yesterday,
poor woman.
yesterday, a guy in a red pickup truck came across the bridge and went all the way up Rochester Street.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
People
I mean,
in the
at
tap
some
room
point
were
it
just
does-
standing there watching him like, is he going to die or is he going to make it?
Someone's going to get a real
There were no
interesting
cars
tattoo from
coming.
Ben while he's watching it.
They went all the way up. They made it all the way up.
That's, yeah, James.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
looking to see.
definitely let's
Yeah, we
look
need
into
wrong
that.
way signs.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not-
Thank you guys for coming out
Thank
tonight.
you.
I know it's late, but
Thank you.
this is really important.
way.
All right, we'll get to work on this. You'll hear back from us in 6 to 8 months.
Fiscal year 26.
By the time this is done, we'll get the signs out.
Well, the light racks will be before mine.
Yeah, the bike rack will be there. Bad little bike rack. Yeah.
So, James.
We can solve
We
it.
better start with us on our way.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys. Great ideas. Thank you.
From my house to yours.
Oh my god. Okay, that's okay. Never mind.
Thank you guys.
Where can we?
Businesses aren't taking the tenant spots. Perfect. But this is where it's going to be.
Yeah, they'll say,
We need to look into signage for just
The one
announcing
ways.
public parking, pointing out where it is, delivery.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't know there is that much public. I didn't realize there was 92 spots
Me neither.
that were already done. I was like, maybe there's
I
like
didn't
20
know
in
there
there. I
was
was waiting for it to tell me like
5
45 or 50.
You know what I mean? The bike racks,
Bike racks are an easy fix.
wrong way
They're not
signs.
that expensive.
And
$200 for
yeah,
decent
I wouldn't.
ones. Pull
If
mixes.
there is such a grant for parking garages,
And that can easily
I
go
know
up
that
to
There's some public-private
yeah.
partnership. but-
If there is such a thing, I mean, I wouldn't mind turning the town parking lot or expanding it into a parking garage. Maybe making money maker for the town.
We can't go
you know what
4
I mean?
stories, but we can go 2.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be any.
That's what I was like, land use ordinance does not allow us to go 4 downtown. But
You know, it's
if you go
20 bucks
2,
to park
that's
for
that's
an hour.
the
or
size of a
whatever
house.
the
You're not.
nonsense, you know,
Right.
a buck
Yeah,
an hour is
50,
enough to
60,
make money.
50, 60 spots.
So,
Yep.
those are the highlights of what I have, and also we need to look into.
I wonder if a garage
handicap.
with no, if it didn't really technically have walls. If we-
Lisa, are you there?
Yes.
How
Can you
are
hear me?
you?
Yes.
Okay, well, my camera light is on, but it's not giving me any picture.
Well,
Is
You're
the
wearing a
little cover
lovely
on?
shade of gray this evening.
Yep. Yep.
Is
Yeah.
the cover on your camera?
Can you see us?
Yes, I can see you.
All right.
All right.
Well,
So James, final budget meeting. Take us through it. What are we doing?
Sure, we can start right with Article 7. So that's tab 1.
Okay. You didn't bring your budget book?
No, I didn't take it last time. I left it for Patty. She didn't bring it back.
I left mine. It's right there.
Yeah.
So, final budget number, 667,459. I don't believe we had any outstanding questions on this.
This is the proposed budget, right?
Yep. So tonight we'll just confirm the numbers, and then the official vote will be on Tuesday.
That's next week. 6 days from now, we have another meeting.
6 days.
6 days.
So general expense, that's workers' comp insurance, legal fees, the audit, our dispatch, streetlights. Overall, it's a $9,525 decrease, or negative 1.4%.
I did have one question on legal fees. I noticed that it had gone down quite a bit. What, 25,000?
We had a lot going on the past couple of years. It just isn't as involved.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't really need it as much.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we've worked our way through those. And then help
Tie
with
that to the
Betsy.
water department, okay?
Right. That was a lot of it, but also
Yeah.
bringing on HR.
Yep.
Hopefully, will prevent us from needing the use of those kind of funds.
You should say having trained HR. We always had HR, it just wasn't always
Trained HR.
It just
Okay.
wasn't. It just always wasn't as effective or
Designated that way.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't designated. You're right. It just wasn't designated that way.
Streetlights. I have a question about the audit. So every year, there's a full audit of the town done, all budgets. We get a really big book at the end of the year, letting us know where all the money went. And I think there hasn't been a single year where there was money misplaced or wrong. Are we required to do an audit every year?
Yes.
I believe so, but Lisa could probably speak more intelligently about it. Than I can.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Required by law.
Why the huge jump this year?
I mean, I think auditing is great, but it's not. It's something that we haven't had a major issue with. So if it was something possible, maybe we could break it down to like every 2 years or something. But if it's required, then
It's a lot because you're using public funds.
Yeah. I mean, I figured that's why I asked. I mean, you know.
And this year, we're spending money, a lot of grant funds. After a certain amount, we have to do a single audit.
That's right.
So that's why it's a little bit of an
I knew, as I asked the question, I remember that we went over this. So.
Do we do
I was
other
like,
departments as well? Like, say, code or things like that? Do we audit them?
Mhm.
Is that in there
It's
as
all
well?
part of the audit.
It's in there,
Everything's
so
on
it's not just accounting.
Yeah, the audit book. It's like 100 pages of just like where every dollar in the town went.
Right.
And every year they come back and they're like, "You did perfect," and we're like, "Great."
Yeah.
What was it? There was some town where like they fired their town manager because there was like $200 of gift cards missing or something like that, and they found them after they fired them or something. Some ridiculous nonsense after an audit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Are we good with general expense?
I mean, yeah, I don't see anything.
Okay, we're going to administration, which is tab 2.
Thanks, Noah.
You're welcome.
If there's anything we had changed there.
Negative 0.08%, so 0.8.
So it's gone down a bit.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
I
there's
just mean
anything
it's
we
pretty
had
much
there.
pretty much a flat thing.
The ICMA retirement, is that just because people who left, the new employees aren't enrolling?
We only have one employee. There's 3 of us in this budget, and there's one employee not enrolled.
Okay. So that makes okay.
I don't see anything outstandingly different. So
What's the one here that says negative 60% here?
that's travel.
Travel and training.
I think one of those they had. I believe there was like a national ICMA conference that include like plane and stuff that I don't think we're budgeting for.
Do you think we're
Lisa,
budgeting?
correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
We had tuition reimbursement going out of that line, and that's going to be over.
That's going to be over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So where, God, my eyes. Here we go, right here. So we're budgeting back for,
Oh, also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's hard on Zoom because you don't know when you're going to interrupt, but
that's okay.
last fiscal year, I moved money from that line to contracted services because we brought Betsy on in the middle of the fiscal year, or the beginning of the fiscal year, but not before we had already decided the budget. So I had moved some of that money out of there.
Okay. So what I'm asking you, James, is we have some new department leaders. We have some new employees. Both Patty has new employees. You got your new HR person. I know in finance things are constantly changing. You have $10,000 budgeted for training and travel. Do you feel like that's enough?
I think so, because that is for the 3 employees and the.
Oh, so this only covers those 3 employees?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I was
I was
thinking
gonna say,
that-
everything else I think falls under each department.
Yeah,
Each department,
Each
all right.
department has its own training and travel.
Okay, that
budget.
makes better sense to me now, because I was just thinking, we
For the
rec,
entire
we got
town
new
hall,
facilities.
probably.
Yeah, this doesn't make sense. Okay,
For the entire town? Yeah.
right. Okay.
All right, what's next, James?
Article 9, which is tab 3, town clerk, $397,992. 5.5% increase, 20,580 overall. A lot of it's just wages and increasing a part-time position a little bit. So in the part-time, there's the GA caseworker, and then there's a float position to cover absences.
So the part-time went to full-time.
It's just the part-time increase in hours.
Okay.
Really, the only difference is wages and materials and supplies went up.
It always does in the general election year,
Yeah.
and then she usually dips back down after.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did catch on to that before. I was like, oh.
I can recognize patterns. Any questions about town clerk?
Nope. Look right.
James, what's next?
Article 10, tab 4, this is the planning department.
Yep.
So that would include the proposed new position, the Director of Economic and Community Development and Planning,
Yep.
which is proposed to be a director, a department head of the department.
That'd be the department head. Okay.
Yep.
So,
Which would oversee, when I first started working here, the director oversaw code, would oversee planning board, assist planning board, some oversight of MRI as well, helps with assessing with their budget, oversees Envision Berwick as well.
so under this budget, under the planning budget, it's planning, code, and community development as well.
Mhm.
So, okay. And, all right.
And the planning development, you're saying that person would become the department leader?
Yep. Yes.
Planning and development, okay.
Well, right now, there is no department leader, really, is
It
there?
falls
Or
Well,
is
under-
it's
It's just Irish, right?
Yeah, they both report to me. So there's
Directly
no,
to the town manager,
there's
right?
no department head.
Gotcha. Okay. And besides yourself, as town manager, is there any other town employee or town director that's overseeing Envision Berwick, or is it just you right now?
Mostly we're just me.
Okay.
So Envision Berwick is on this too, okay.
don't have any staff that's currently overseeing it. And for the longest time, we had Tom as a select board liaison to the Envision Berwick, which is always nice to have.
Is Envision Berwick part of this budget, or is it part of something else?
It's a separate budget.
Separate one.
They're a separate budget.
There's a separate budget.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So this new proposed position, sorry, let me find it.
So under contracted services, you've taken out 20,000. So that's what we currently are paying for the, what is it called? I can't remember.
SMPDC.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the new planner would take over their responsibilities, and that's why that's 20,000 lower.
If there would be this primary plan reviewer for planning board, generate memos, findings of facts, and planning board staff support.
Go to all the planning board meetings.
Yep.
We don't, I'm trying to look really like what. I don't see anything, sorry. I don't see anything in here specifically. Plans, schedules, organized works, activities to ensure. I don't see anything in here about the supervisory responsibilities, like spelled out, and I'm really looking at it fast, so I could be missing it. It says supervises preparation and copying, that kind of stuff, but you just said this is going to be a department leader position.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
So there should be something specific in here regarding supervisory responsibilities of the following positions.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't want to hold it up, but we would want that to be added before we post it.
Well, this is not going to be posted until after this budget passes anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
So
I don't want to hold the budget process up, but
no.
you just said that, so I'm telling James, can you
Yeah.
please have Betsy look at that?
Absolutely. Yep.
All right.
And make sure that those things are added to it.
Right.
And I'm asking you, I mean, those three departments, there's a lot going on there. Envision Berwick and Code, that's a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, is that something you feel comfortable taking?
I think for that position, any director is busy, so that would be the responsibility of that position. I think it's
We shouldn't be discussing that
Yeah.
because the position hasn't been posted yet.
Right.
The position doesn't exist yet.
It doesn't exist. Yeah, it doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's definitely it's something that position would be able to take on. The director of code planning, economic development, grant management. I think that's definitely the wheelhouse of that position.
Yeah. So just make sure that this, definitely does go through Betsy and everything, but also make sure it adds in that they'd be supervising code
those three things.
What would you describe Envision Berwick as? The
comprehensive planning implementation committee.
Yeah.
So
Planning,
long
code,
range.
planning and development, and Envision Berwick, just to make sure that
And
it is-
subcommittees.
and
planning subcommittees in case it ever changes.
And I don't
I'd say
know if I
planning,
see
code,
it here
and
as well, but make
subcommittees.
sure also it says attends all planning
Because of
board
anything.
meetings. Because those meetings are definitely required. So if we
Yeah.
have to sit through them, so do they.
Yeah, I just
Right.
want something that establishes the position as a department lead position.
Yeah.
So when there's a department leader meeting, that person is
Yeah.
there as opposed to the code and all of
Yeah.
that.
Make sure it specifically says department leader
Right.
position.
And that way, when there is a management meeting, the person who gets that position would be there as opposed to all
Code.
these individual people. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good to just, that would be good.
Have the one
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely is
Typically has
intended to
supervisory
be.
position, yes, but it's
If
not.
it's intended, write it in.
Huh?
That it is a supervisory.
And my only other question, James, was that part that I had written about with,
it didn't have it on
Yeah.
where was it here? What was it, the 2000,
Where was that?
oh, where did it go?
The email?
Yeah,
I got it right here. If you want-
yeah, I don't have the exact amount.
Here, hand it.
Oh, here it is. $2,567 was a wage increase for planning. And I just wonder if you could explain that a little bit more. I was kind of confused as to why it went up.
Sure. There was a personnel change in the middle of the fiscal year, and we had to hire somebody at a slightly higher rate because they came with more experience.
Oh, I remember this. When the person left, what we had originally had it posted at wasn't.
Gotcha.
We couldn't get anybody because of the recruiting. We couldn't get anybody. I remember this.
So
we had to post it higher than what was budgeted in order to recruit someone because we couldn't get anyone to even apply.
And that was my question.
Yep.
That's what I remember.
that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that originally, so I'm sorry. But now that we're talking about it, I'm like, that's right. No one applied for a long period of time.
Okay.
So we had to increase it.
Okay.
And because it was mid-year, it wasn't in the budget.
Correct.
Got it. That makes sense now.
Any other questions about the planning budget?
Because this is a new position, do we have to vote separately to add the new position, or does it just get included in this budget?
It just gets included in the budget, I think. We by when as long as the budget passes,
Yeah.
then
we would be able to create.
Okay, so it doesn't require a separate vote.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And also, to be fair, the town planner was a position that existed
up until
James became town manager, and then we just pass off that responsibility to being contracted work.
Right.
So the position existed before and technically still exists. It's just unfilled.
Well,
We never voted to eliminate the position.
Just change the name?
Well,
No, we never
we
never
I
filled
just,
it.
I
We
just
just-
think the planning piece of this position existed before, but we have made this position a little bit more robust and
With the
expanded it.
community and
Yeah.
economic development. Yeah.
So this position is all new, and it just incorporates the previous planning position.
Let's say that it does involve a vote, but we should wait for the budget to pass
sure that there's a
before we
budget
do the
line for
vote.
And I don't have a preference either way.
Yeah.
I just know it can be done either way. I know, for example, with the county, if we have a new position, it just gets voted on and approved during the budget.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do it separately. But I went to a town meeting with one of my siblings in their town. It had to be separate, and so I'm just asking for clarification. I don't have a preference
I
either
guess
way.
ask Patty and find out
Sure.
because she would know best. I
Yeah.
guess. But I mean, we're gonna we're gonna approve the warrant. That would be a
Right.
vote. That would be our vote to approve the position. The town will vote on the warrant. That'd be their vote to approve the position.
Right.
If it needs to be separate, then I would say that we'd probably have to wait until the budget passes so that there's money for the position.
To understand
Right.
that there is
Yeah,
financing.
so-
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it can be passed in it because it would be included as long as when the budget is posted, the description,
Yeah.
updated description is
Yep.
included.
Get that revised. Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. After planning, what are we looking at?
Still on tab 4, assessing. The only thing that increased was
Equipment maintenance
Yeah.
and internet service.
it's the equipment maintenance that's from our Vision assessing database software.
Yeah.
And I imagine Envision is the web database, right?
Yep.
Where everybody can find their tax cards and everything.
Yep.
Well, that's kind of required to keep going then.
Article. So yeah, it's just contracted services. We contract MRI mapping that updates our tax maps. Article 11. We just did. Article 12 is tab 5. The main increase here, custodial service, we had the same janitor for a generation. He retired, and we've gone to a new service.
And they cost more.
Yep.
And they seem to be doing a really good job. It seems to be, they really have a good attention to detail so far. We did a little research into, because I know there's questions about electrical and things like that, about the past. Some of that was tracked to a lot of rate increases Lisa, you did a lot of that legwork. Do you want to add anything on that?
That was so long ago. Let me think. A lot happened, so we couldn't really compare apples to apples there, because, like, for instance, last year we had to replace an underground tank, so we had the above ground tanks with K1 in them, so that was more expensive. And then we switched from we went from Constellation to Berwick Solar in that time. And what were the other things? Let me see if I can find my spreadsheet. It just wasn't easy to figure out why, except because there were so many variables that happened during that period, like the last 4 years of time.
Well, long story short, we updated the actual figures because I think the very first initial budget we presented, it was just under what the actual was. So just a little digging to find out what was what.
It's always hard to just guess at numbers like that. And, you know. Any questions about town hall?
So,
Go ahead.
No.
I just found my spreadsheet. So in fiscal 2020, the heat pumps were installed in November 2019. So that made a difference. And then in both the electricity and the heat. And then in fiscal 2022, Berwick Solar came online in July 2021. So that's when Constellation went away. And then in fiscal 23 is when we had the oil tank change with the K1 and the outdoor tanks. So hopefully going forward, we have all those issues solved and we'll see a better trend of what the actuals are.
Well, assuming there's no more upheaval about it.
Right.
The only constant is change. All right, what's after town hall?
We don't necessarily need to flip to the tab, but Article 13 is general assistance. That was the 30,000.
Yeah.
So Article 14, that's tab 6 for police. This budget adds it's a half of an officer for half of a year, meaning we hire January 2025. So that would add a officer.
James, can we go back to general assistance for just a second?
Sure.
So we're going 2023 we spent, I'm looking at rent assistance, household personal assistance. So we budgeted for 12, we spent 22. We budgeted for 13, we spent 7. Wow, difference. In 2025 we're budgeting for 18.2. Kind of, are you just looking, is there a reason for that, or are you just kind of hedging your bet
She
somewhere in the
gets
middle?
some of that back. That's
Yeah.
what.
I think
That's
she
what
gets,
Patty
like,
went over last.
quite a
night. She
lot of
did.
it
So
back.
it's what she thought, how we could increase it, but then also account for what percentage of that came back.
That we're going to get
Yeah.
back.
Yeah,
We get a lot of it back.
and those numbers, James, correct me if
They're
I'm
very
wrong.
variable, yeah.
Patty is the one that chose the numbers, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would trust her judgment on the.
Oh, yeah, me too. I just was
mean,
curious.
in terms of what she's seeing, in the field, as it were. But I mean, like that's 7,000 year to date.
Yeah.
So that's so.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So it was this huge jump,
Yeah.
and then it literally
Well,
flipped itself.
no,
I
it's
think
not.
and then some of it too was
Yeah. No,
the
but
rent
that's year to
assistance
date,
that like
so we
people
No,
that
it
couldn't
says
evict
as of
during
12/31 up here.
No. I'm
Oh.
not talking there. I'm talking here under 2023. We budgeted for 12. We spent 22,
Yeah.
and then 24. We budgeted for 13. We spent 7
We've only spent 7 so far.
so far.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
probably right on that number.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go
it's
up
probably
about
closer to
5,000.
10 or
Yeah.
11 right now.
Okay.
But I think 22 22 to 23 was like a lot of that cannot evict COVID all of a sudden went away, and there were people that she had to help out so that they could get back to
Yeah,
square.
it was 2023 that the red
Yep.
assistant ended, everything
Yep.
like that.
And I think that's where we saw that
So
jump
that's
that
why
she
it
was
jumped
under.
out.
Yep.
Okay, that makes, all right.
Yeah, because I dealt with it from all of 22, and then it ended in like November of 2022, beginning of 2023. It ran out of
Yep.
money, so
And then
that's
people
when
ran
it would
into
have
issues
been.
that summer.
And then the eviction moratoriums ended and all that stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, well, I don't know if there was ever. I don't know. Did we have an eviction moratorium, or is it just like the courts are so backed up, you're never going to get to see the judge?
I think that was it. Yeah.
It was courts are closed. Yeah, exactly. It's just like my brother's like I would evict him, but I'm not going to get a court date for 3 months, so I don't know what to do. You know.
Actually, as of today, there's been $15,344 spent out of that rent line.
Wow,
So,
really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
We're 93.5% spent in that budget this year so far.
It's only March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 months to go.
3 months to go.
Pretty close.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if it was
Yeah, it's
gonna
going to be pretty close.
According to Patty, like once you get to about April, that's when she sees a lot of like large electricity bills because
Yeah.
people didn't pay over the winter because they can't turn it off. But then
Yeah.
then you get to April, they can shut you off if you don't pay. So that's when she gets those bills.
Yeah.
So,
Got it.
That's what she said.
all right. So we were on police.
Yep, that's tab 6. The DEA agent is phasing out, heading towards retirement. So the idea would be, as the DEA agent, he does half a year, winds down, and the other half, the police officer gets hired in January 2025.
Okay.
We hope.
Yeah.
Everything is
Pretty straightforward there.
Well, that's required.
I did see they did increase their training budget. Not much, but it's good to see.
Yeah, I always like to see it when they
Yes,
do more
police need
training.
better training all the time.
It's not necessarily better in that sense. It's
There's
just
so
that
much going on.
the laws change so
Yeah.
much. You got to be up to date. You got to recertify
Yeah.
that. And you do that for good reason.
Equipment maintenance. Let's see. Nothing.
I mean, I'm not saying anything's wrong with our police. I think they're great. I just think they always need to be in training.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
no, no,
it's
no,
like
I
being
think,
a
yeah.
doctor. You know what I mean?
Everything's constantly
I
changing.
agree with
You
you.
can't just go to medical school and then be a doctor for the next 40 years and not get any more training.
Right.
Same thing with police. Like you can't just get out of, you have to keep going to training. It has to be ongoing.
Professional
Yeah.
development.
Exactly.
Definitely,
You
yeah.
know.
Boy, that retirement, boy, that hits us too, huh?
I don't see anything that stands out.
No.
No.
James?
And fire department is tab 8. So that is adding 2 full-time positions. And what we're doing is we're reallocating the 2 per diem positions. So that's why you see the decrease of the 95,775. And that's getting moved into the full-time wages part.
Yeah.
And then you just see the wages reflect with retirement and health insurance.
And the chief came in and explained all that.
Yeah.
Everything else looks pretty copacetic. That's building maintenance. Electricity. Yeah.
He's still budgeting for the firefighter incentive. Doesn't look like he's used much of it.
He
Used a little bit.
2024 year to date says he used almost all of it.
Yeah.
18,516 out of 19,000.
Oh, nope, you're right. Took off. I'm looking at 1 year to the next year, but it's not. It's the 2 what they've spent. Sorry.
Yeah.
Time is it?
Time to go home.
Yeah.
All right. What's after fire, James?
Public Works is tab 8, Article 16.
7 pages more to go.
Part-time position full-time.
Yep.
We're looking at going down in salt a little bit. And then the big difference is just from the lead times, we had our lease items go down quite a bit last fiscal year, and it's just going back up.
I imagine we didn't spend a lot on salt this year.
No.
There's like 4 storms, and they're all in February.
Mhm.
Yeah, year to date as of December, 25,000.
I was just
I'm gonna
reading
guess
that.
we didn't spend a lot more than that. I'm gonna say because we had.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have. So he spent 25,000 on salt then, and then we didn't have a storm until basically February, where we had like 3 or 4.
No, we had one in December.
Yeah, but that's already in here.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
already covered under this.
Right.
So.
We spent, excuse me, we spent 65,000, excuse me, this year.
So that's
Yep, and that
that's-
covers all January, February.
Yeah, that's a third of the whole budget of it. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we're
So if
saving
we get,
some
so if
money
we,
this
so if
year.
we get
Yeah,
that, we
global
get that
warming
freak
saving us
March
money with salt.
snowstorm, it'll be heavily salted.
That's right. We should be well covered.
Article 18 is just the next page. That's the transfer station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we have a contracted with does it trash waste management? Is it?
Yep.
Mike, you
Oh yeah,
asked
so
before.
yeah, just do we ever put that out to bid? And okay, so that's just.
It was
good.
put out to bid.
I mean, I know waste is pretty much it around here, but I didn't know if any of the like shipping or anything else that goes out.
The
is-
smaller
that's
companies
the smaller
maybe,
stuff
yeah.
that we use.
But I know, yeah, we did like the for the big one for the big waste for
Yeah.
waste management. That went out to bid. I'm guessing 7 or 8 years ago. But the other ones, we should.
Yeah, just to see what's there. I mean, and again, it may be who we choose to go with again next year, or whatever. But if it's
passive places, like
I mean-
like the smaller companies, they'll come and take your stuff and they give it to waste management. So you know,
Yeah.
you're just adding in a middleman to the project most of the
You're talking about like the other waste too, right?
yeah, the recycled, I think the wood chipping, the brush, all that, because
Yeah,
there was like
metal.
7 different sub people that we do, and
Yeah.
like I said, waste is it for the big stuff, but everything else,
Yeah.
you know, for paying to haul off, I mean, might be time to invest in a chipper and give it to people looking for it.
We're just on transfer stations. The next page.
Still in tab 8. That one was more my curiosity than, you know, any.
I mean, when it's public money, you always just throw it out to bid. You know.
Mhm.
Oh, better safe than sorry.
Yep.
You know.
The next article 19. That's recreation. It's tab 9. With this, we used recreation revenue. So the budget overall is $478,870. With the $190,000 offset, the taxpayer is paying $288,870.
What article number is that? You said.
That would be Article
19.
19.
Okay. That's basically how it's written for the article, for the warrant article as well.
We included a little bit of funds this year for underground maintenance. The intent behind that is to start doing more work in our parks, so Penny Pond, the kayak launch, and through user fees. So last year was one of the first years we had user fees that helped offset some of that item as well, to be able to keep up with our maintenance program.
I have a question about the user fees. We're appropriating $190,000, which is a good, nice round number, which makes me think that it's not the totality of that account. What's actually in that account?
Lisa, do you know the number?
Lisa, what's currently in Rex?
What, let me tell you, hold on a second. I
Oh, yeah,
just
no
did February's reports today.
So It's a little bit more than that, and then the money is coming in now for summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's starting to roll in pretty good.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering if there's like a policy, reason, or choice or rule for how much we appropriate or how much is set aside, or like.
So right now there's, well, as of February, the end of February, there's 112,000 in the account.
Okay, that's the user fees.
User fees?
Yeah.
You mean the rec registration fees?
Yeah, registration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, 112,000.
Okay. So by June we should have 190,000 in there. Is what the projection is, and then we pull that into the budget. Okay. Okay. Just what do we do if there's not 190,000 in there? I mean, I just hypothetically.
That's what I asked James. He assured me it will be there.
Yeah, based on last registration,
They're already.
Yeah, if you're already getting a good response, then
They're the cheapest summer camp around.
yeah.
I mean, it's really, every week I have thousands of dollars coming into that account right now.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. If something happens and it's not 190,000 in there, do we have to wait for there to be 190,000 in there? Do we
Bake
have
sale.
to do a recreation bake sale? Okay.
Well, we can only transfer what we have, so.
Josh will start mowing other people's lawns.
We'll write them out.
Any other questions about rec?
Tab 11 is the library, Article 20. This is a part-time position going full-time, and the increased hours, they're able to open full day on Thursday. And then there's just some items that were removed because the Library Association is responsible for building and grounds maintenance.
Any questions about library?
No, or I don't. Sorry. I can't speak for everyone.
What's next, James?
Article 21, tab 12. This is just the bonds we owe. It's the fire trucks and auditorium windows, clock tower, and then the fire station. So it's just the debt we owe.
Yeah. Tax. I did have a question. I just kind of wondering. So the school went up 6.5. What's the process, or
With the school, that's what we're kind of. So just trying to get a picture of the overall budget, kind of like you put in 5% for the county, but we think it's actually going to be 7.5% for county.
Okay.
So we estimate a number just so while we're budgeting for the overall budget, if we think the school is going to come in at, X, then we know, like, if we want to come in at a certain increase overall, then we would adjust our budgets accordingly. So just as we're kind of on the initial meetings with departments, just having a figure in mind, knowing that if the school comes in at 7.5%, we all need to, that was just the strategy going in of just plugging in that number.
Okay.
Because 7.5% for the school, you're already looking at over $500,000.
Yeah.
And I've got word today that they're already above 7. Like their initial first budget cut, they're well above 7.5%.
Really?
But that was their first cut, so their first draft. So now they'll start cutting it down.
Whittling it down.
So they don't kill her. So everybody doesn't kill them, Just like,
so they just.
Heart attack at the
My understanding is their last school board meeting, which was I believe
last week.
Yeah, last week they had their first budget meeting. So they're going to go through I think by April they'll have an actual budget.
Where is the school on? Where's the education on the warrant articles? You know?
It's part of the debt service one, 21.
Is it?
Yep.
No.
No?
Yeah.
The school?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the school?
Oh no, school's on
The
its own.
school is a separate,
It's its
a
own
separate,
voting line.
Right.
warrant. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a separate vote.
Separate vote, yeah.
The
Yeah.
budget itself is its
That's
own
it.
separate.
That's
Sorry,
that's
I
in
thought you
November,
were-
right?
No.
That's
And it's also in June.
It's June.
Is it?
Yes.
Yep, June 11th.
Okay.
So you mean it's a separate line, Lisa, or?
No, this is, the only thing
budget
we're doing,
itself is a separate
the only reason the
We project.
the county and school are mentioned in these budget processes is so that we can project what the total overall budget is to figure out like what our tax commitment is going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And what our possible tax rate is going to be. So all you're doing is you're working on the town, the municipal budget only, and the school and the county, where, well, the people vote on the school separately, and the county is voted on by the county, and they tell us what it is, right?
Yep.
Yep. Pretty much.
Yep.
So they're okay.
So we don't have a choice.
That's what I was kind of asking.
Yeah.
That's why they get their own
They
vote
tell us.
Yeah.
line to vote. They get their own warrant
we
because
just
we
put a
don't really
line.
have a
We put a
say.
line in.
But if you want to be
estimate.
part of the budget process, you can go to this caucus
That's right.
and be part of that.
You gotta-
Um,
I don't
so-
think that, it doesn't look like they'd like conservative.
yeah.
yeah.
All right. So what's after debt service?
Article 22, this is public agencies, that's tab 13. As proposed, it's $1,200 for Memorial Day, which provides funding for the parade and for flags. And then $500 for the Seacoast Shipyard Association, which that's just, they advocate to keep the shipyard open. And then $29,000 for the Coast Bus. I don't know, Linda, did you
I
get?
didn't get those sheets. Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
That's the emails that were going back and forth.
I got those emails.
Well, because they misspelled my email.
So
But
the fiscal year 23 estimate for ridership,
yeah.
Route 100, which is the shipyard route, was 365. So that's total number of riders
The whole year.
for the whole year. So that's the shipyard one. That's the park and ride up right here.
Okay.
They're not affiliated with any of the other minibuses. That there's dozens that.
Yeah, I see
half a
somebody
dozen.
down where I live. Yeah.
And then Route 1, which is like the route that's right across Town Hall, is part of Route 1.
Okay.
That ridership was 1,996. And then Rad told me that the fiscal year ridership as a whole is up by 37.5% and 12.5% respectively.
And I think that will go up.
Mm.
Um,
And if it doesn't, we can cut it next year.
no, I think as all these apartments come in, too,
Yeah, absolutely.
they're going to start using it even more.
Public transportation is very important. A town without public transportation is barely a town. So it's so hard to
Yeah.
get around for people. It's just like sometimes you have a car so long you forget. Some people don't have them.
James, just to clarify, on American Legion Post 79, I know you said flags and all that kind of stuff. Does that include the annual Person of the Year dinner?
So with the Citizen of the Year dinner,
Citizen of the Year, thank you.
we funded through contingency the full
Okay.
amount. So we won't. That's why we're not funding it this year, and I don't think we're gonna. I think we'll be funding it next year.
Okay.
It might have.
Yeah, it's every other year.
Every other year, yeah.
So,
So
but
it's,
we've already so it just means we have to do a separate vote to take it out of contingency later when it comes up.
Already done.
Right, but I mean the next time. It's
Well,
not going to be
next
in the
time
budget.
we'll put it in the budget.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Anything else on public agencies?
I'm good.
James?
The next one is under transfers. So that's tab 15, public fire protection. That's part of our PUC. It's the number we have to do for hydrants. That's Article 23. Article 24. This is the amount of money we raise through taxes, appropriate through taxes for road construction. And Article 25 is using the undesignated fund balance to replace the fuel pumps and the software. That's a capital project. We have some obsolete equipment out there. And Article 26 is a piggyback of Article 24, basically, where those funds are combined for the same use, same purpose for road construction. And that money comes from our undesignated fund balance.
James, can you just remind me under the road projects? I know for 25 we're doing 300,000. What did we do last year?
200,000.
Yeah.
Was it
250?
250. Okay, it was 250. Okay.
Yep. Then Article 27 was the capital request from fire, so that's a total of $105,000. We're saving some money for a truck replacement, personal protective equipment, typical capital request from Chief Plant. And then Article 28 are the police department capital requests. The intention for this fiscal year is to outright purchase vehicles, try to move as much as possible away from leasing. Then Article 29, talking with 2 property owners that are abutting Public Works for the Public Works expansion. So this gives the ability for the select board to negotiate into a purchase and sale agreement. Then Article 30, $75,000 for Memorial Field improvements, for recreation capital improvements, which are intended to go to Memorial Field. And then Article 31, those are town hall improvements, $135,500 to fix the clock tower railing. It's falling apart. Do some waterproofing of our bricks. New security system that's needed, and just some minor bathroom improvements.
And it includes the savings for the eventual
Savings for
replacement of the stair.
to replace the front steps. Yep. And Article 32, that's just transfer station building reserve. $10,000. Article 33 is $50,000 for match funds. And then those are all from undesignated fund balance. And Article 34, that's from raise and appropriate from taxes, $10,000 for contingency. So that's for unanticipated expenses and emergencies.
How much was it last year?
It was 10,000,
Okay.
but our balance right now is about 90,000,
Okay.
which will, we could use that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Article 35. This has always been the Envision Berwick account. It's for economic development purposes. 21,365.
See, that's what I was thinking. Economic development. The job posting would be, say, supervisor role or economic development committee.
Absolutely.
That way, at least they're in sync.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's what I think that should say. supervisor planning, department head planning, supervisor code and everything like that, supervisor of economic development committee, things like that. Yeah. Not the enough topic. Keep going.
We said subcommittee. So.
Subcommittee. Yeah. We were getting all fancy. No, he's getting all fancy.
Yeah.
In Article 36, digital communications, branding and signage, 28,260. Then Article 37, $10,000 for emergency management. So that's for the cots or blankets or materials, anything needed for an emergency.
How much was appropriated last year for that?
6,000.
Okay, that's the one. That's the one that I wanted to make sure went up.
Yeah, and that's a carry forward. Anything not expended carries forward. It accumulates.
Yeah.
Okay.
19,310 for Article 38. This is for our MS4 engineer, Christy. We've had her for 10 plus years. She's great. She makes sure we stay in compliance. She advocates for us. She writes our reports. She does inspections for us. She does public awareness campaigns. In Article 39, that's BCM. So we can actually go to BCM. That's tab 14. The idea with this, and something we talked about a little bit last year, was increasing the taxpayer share as we anticipate franchise fees reduce to keep the department sustainable. So the overall budget for the BCM department is $193,425, using $123,425 Comcast franchise fees for a sum that we're appropriating from taxes of $70,000. Any questions on BCM?
No, not for me.
Article 40, that's a long-standing water bond that the town pays half of. That we took out in 1999. That's $21,634. Article 41 is authorizing the use of the Lena Clark interest, which was $13,478. We haven't used Lena Clark interest in a while, so it's just accumulating, which is good. We'll need it soon enough, but
Wait a minute. Use interest only from this for.
We don't touch the account. We just any of the money.
No. I'm just saying that it says authorize the use of interest only from this account for major repairs or maintenance needs of the town hall. Are there? Is it going? Or is it? The way it's worded makes it sound like we're going to take this money out of the bank, out of a bank account, put it into a different bank account, and hold on to it in case there's an emergency. No, it's just like, is there a specific thing that we're spending the money on?
It's just
no. Usually if something unforeseen comes up, this is the way it has been in the past. If something unforeseen comes up, we ask the board to vote to approve spending taking the Lena Clark interest and using that for the expense.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I that's the way I recall it, so I don't understand why there's a article for it. It's just, it seems just with that.
Well, we have to ask the people every year
just
to
that
make
we have
sure
the
that
to actually spend that money.
Right.
Got it. Okay. So
authorization to spend.
All right. So it's been there all the time, and I just missed it. Got it.
Article 42 is using $250,000 of our fund balance to offset the tax rate. And that also helps us, assist us stay under, or at least reduce our tax levy of LD1.
Yeah.
Then Article 43, it's dissolving the firefighter contingency reserve. So we're, in effect, we're adding 2 staff. So we're basically using it, and this is, in my mind, that's how it works in my head. So Article 43 is using that contingency funds, and the way we do that is we have to dissolve the account and then just ask the voters to use that 30,000 to offset the taxes. So that was a really convoluted way of explaining that.
8.5%.
Yep, 44 charge, setting the interest rate at 8.5%.
What was it last year?
I think it's 6.5.
Yeah.
The state treasurer's office sets it.
Yeah.
We can go lower, but we usually just set it at whatever the state treasurer's office sets it at.
No, I think it should match the state for consistency. I just, going up 2% in a year, and then, I going back 5 years, I bet it was like 2%. You know what I mean? So, just ridiculous.
Pay your taxes.
Inflation.
Yeah.
Article 45 is 6%.
Did anybody catch any punctuation errors or, any typos or anything that we get corrected?
I did, but
All right. Any questions, concerns, follow up about the budget? Because now's the time.
no.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa. Night.
Good night.
All right.
That was good that we went over that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought we were off the thing.
Are we done early in the budget, or is
No,
it
we
done
have an
on
executive
time?
session.
We're done.
Now we get to move to go to executive
Is
session.
it possible to ever be done early? Is that something that we can do?
No.
Sure. I don't think it is. All right. All right. So, yeah, we're all set. No more broadcasts. You close up shop and head on out.